Hey there, movie besties. Welcome to this week's episode of So That's What Happens,
a podcast where we unpack the plot, the twist, and meaning of great movies while sharing our perspective and having a little fun in the process. We're your hosts, Tanisha
and Bridget.
And on today's episode, we will be discussing the movie Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yes, Labor Day. Your boy was all off. Hey, you supposed to be on.
I'm sorry. Some friendly reminders before we get started.
Everyone has a different perspective, even you. And, we're going to share ours, and that's pretty much what we do on this show. Y'all already know the deal.
And don't take our word for it. Go ahead and check it out for yourself because there's no substitute.
Yep. And, of course, y'all already know this is a spoiler. So, I'm about to tell y'all the whole movie.
The movie we're going into today is Labor Day. It came out in 2013. For those of you who like to see the movie beforehand, you can check it out on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
For those of you who like to see it afterwards, you can check it out on Amazon Prime. That's where it's streaming.
The genre of the movie is drama, romance, and thriller. Got a little thrill to it.
It does.
The writer and director is Jason Reitman. It's actually adapted from a book. It was a book written by Joyce Maynard, and Jason Reitman took it to screenplay.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
And speaking of screenplay,
all right, we're going through all the actors.
It's starring Kate Winslet, okay, who we all know and love. Oh my goodness, we'll get to her resume in a moment. But she plays Adele, who's just this kind of reclusive, divorced mother.
Yeah.
And you might know her from Titanic.
Yeah.
Hello.
Jack.
Revolutionary Road. The Mountain Between Us. She was in the Divergent trilogy.
Oh, yeah, she
was in The Reader.
Okay.
She has a very extensive resume and she does so well in this movie.
And then we got Josh Brolin. Okay. He plays Frank. He is an escaped convict. Ooh. And you've seen him in The Avengers, Endgame, No Country for Old Men. Oh, God, that movie.
Yeah.
Goonies, Deadpool 2, Sin City, Old Boy, True Grit, and Gangsta Squad. I ain't
many of those movies.
I've seen a lot of those, and then there's some I haven't seen, like True Grit and Gangster Squad. I don't know who that is.
I've seen those. I definitely liked them. Have you seen Old Boy?
I feel like I have, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen The Avengers Endgame?
Yes.
You know who Josh Brolin is, right?
Yeah.
He kills.
Oh, yeah, sure do.
Half of us.
Dang it.
He does it so seriously with that snap.
Right. Like you ain't had to do the blip on us like that. All right.
And then we have Gatlin Griffin, who plays Henry. Henry is a young man just kind of in need of a father figure.
Yeah.
But he has great character. He's a good kid. And you might know him from Changeling. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I watched that.
Catch the Bullet and Under the Bed.
Ooh, that would be what? It's a scary movie.
Maybe.
Probably, because Under the Bed, I mean, what else? Everybody know what's under the bed. That's a movie bed. That's what everybody say.
So is it what everybody says? Everybody knows it's under the bed. It's a daggone boogeyman.
If it's called Under the Bed, we all know what they talk. It's probably a scary movie. Shoot.
That is one of the go-to places where people have to look and check. It's so ingrained in us that we do it too. Like,
oh my God.
Knowing good and well, nothing can fit under these beds.
Do you ever think like something to touch your leg or your foot if it's hanging over the bed?
Yeah. But it's also like sometimes you want to anyway. It's just to be like, are you going to come? See, nothing's happening.
Right.
I don't like to really test it, but I do test it sometimes.
I get what you saying. I don't be tested like because I already know ain't nothing under there. But it's like still, I get what you mean by like, the thrill of it. Okay, whatever. We just getting off.
The thrill of putting your leg at the side of the bed.
So it goes.
Children we are.
Ooh, it's such a big thrill putting on.
Let's talk about our overall ratings for this movie.
Yes. All right, what's your rating, B?
8.5.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's a good rating.
I almost was like, I'm gonna put the same one as you, and I didn't know. But 8.5 for this film.
And then my rating too, I gave it an 8.75.
Okay.
Yep.
8.5, 8.75. I'd say these are pretty high ratings.
Yeah.
Because this is a good movie.
Another good movie. Another good find.
Man, it just For me, this movie, it captures that kind of love that you need to see to experience. So we're going to talk about it really well. I'd like to think on this show, but you got to see it because seeing it does something to you.
Right.
Like it warms your heart in this really genuine way.
Yeah.
And it gives you just this great look at two people in the craziest of circumstances, right?
Right.
Falling in love. And it's also from the perspective, a lot of it from a preteen.
Yeah.
And like their understanding of love too. So it just... He
definitely got a good example, I think.
Absolutely.
Of, closeness and peace and love.
It just reminds you that love can break the rules that we really thought we had set in place. We thought that it had to be this way and that way. And nope.
And that ain't true. That's why I don't ever be talking about nobody. Like, if somebody known somebody for 3 months and they got married or said they was in love, it's like, who am I to say they ain't? Who am I to be like, oh, it's too soon? Or what you mean? Like, you never know nobody's story. And that, I think this movie definitely, like, portrayed that. Like, I liked it. Like,
puts you in your place. Like, well, it doesn't sound like it makes sense. Oh, it makes sense.
Right.
Watch the movie.
Right. All right. So for me, 3 things stuck out in this movie. The storyline. So I like how they just showed the 3 storylines of what's happening and what has happened, like, simultaneously in everybody's life, right? I like how they show how they became who they are. And so you got, like, the mom. She's the divorced, sad, but not bitter. She's not bitter, but she's just sad.
She's definitely not bitter.
Yeah, she's a single mom, and then you kind of learn why, and you see her background. And then, you got the son who wants to be there for his mother, and you kind of see what he's kind of got mixed into. And then you got this army man with a tragic past, and that's the convicted convict. But really, he has so much love to give.
Yeah.
He really did. Like, he's a good guy. So, and then I liked how the storyline is just pretty much straightforward. It's not nothing like, it's deep, but it's like a you can follow type of deep. It's not something like, oh, wait a minute, you got to really read between the lines. It's not like that. It's just straightforward storyline, but it was a really good storyline. It just
hits you right in the gut.
Yeah, it does. And then I like the execution. I like that it was narrated by the son, like you said, from that perspective of a preteen. I thought that was dope. And then at the end, the before and after of everybody's storyline and how they kind of all tied together, even in the past and in the future. It was dope. I feel like it gave a pretty realistic happy ending.
Well, yeah.
It was definitely realistic. So, and then the last thing was the acting. I think Frank and Adele, like we said, played by Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin. Their chemistry was just so felt. Like, I remember doing a few like little head, like, okay, like my little neck.
We paused it a few times to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, okay. But I love how they portrayed like the sensual, organic sexuality, like without it being like ick, like just ick. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, they showed the connection, they showed their togetherness without it. It was very sexy, but it was sensual sexy. It wasn't like y'all just out here just banging it out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe that's too much, but
it showed you that they loved each other without you having to see that they made love.
Right. There you go. That was a good point. Yeah, just like that. And it was very genuine, and it was soft and strong at the same time, though.
Heavy on the strength, but also heavy on the soft.
All right, so yeah, that was a pretty good ratings, Gary.
So let's unpack what happens in our movie, Labor Day. So it starts off with this perspective of you're riding down a long wooded road. Basically, wooded like you're through the woods.
Oh, okay.
The road is winding. You're looking up at the trees. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it pans out to just show kind of this quaint, suburban-ish neighborhood.
Yeah.
One that has matured trees, which are my favorite type of trees. Yeah. Like, yay, they have trees that are big and out there. It lets you know the year's 1987. And so Henry, who's the son, he narrates a lot during this movie.
Yeah.
He turns on this song, I'm Going Home, on their record player as he pours his mom coffee. He puts it in this mug. He puts it by her nightstand, and he tells her good morning.
Yeah.
And we see him, getting ready because school will be starting soon. Trying on his pants, his school pants.
They flood.
Right in the mirror. Yeah, but they're flooding pretty bad. And he can't even zipper button them. He's had himself a nice little growth spurt.
Right.
So him and his mom look at each other, and it's kind of like a defeated look, like, uh-oh. And we see that they have to go outside their home. And they go into their old station wagon, and you can kind of tell just by the way his mom is moving. She's a little meek is the only word I can really think of.
And timid. Timid is definitely a good word, too.
And she's just moving very timidly, too. Yeah. So she gets in her car, and you could tell she has anxiety about this whole thing. She puts in her, she puts the keys in, starts it up, and like you can see she's shaking a little bit, and she hits the gas, but then her son is the one who has to put it in reverse.
Yeah, because it kind of went to neutral.
Yeah, she wasn't looking.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you this idea. They don't go out much.
Yep.
And then he starts narrating, about how their life goes, and he explains their life.
Yeah, and what he's saying is, he's like, it's just the two of us, talking about him and his mom since Dad left. But Dad says we should count his new baby with his wife Marjorie as his family, along with her son Richard. For the most part, my mom never mentions her. Mm-hmm. So he's just kind of talking, you kind of get like, oh, okay, him and his parents got divorced. Okay, you see what's going, Dad
has kind of a new family with a toddler baby, and
he's
Richard.
At this point, is he looking at pictures of him? Right?
Yes.
Yep. He's looking at pictures of his dad and the dad's new family, having fun at the daggone park and circus. And anyway, so then we cut to a scene where we see the dad like. He tries to convince Henry that, that it's okay for him to come live with him. He's like, you can come live with me and Marjorie, and that, he can have his mom evaluated, which was like, hold on, who are you?
Yeah, what do you mean evaluated?
Who are you? And so Henry assures his dad that she's totally fine and even learning to play the cello. Like, my mom was cool. Don't.
He takes up for her.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, why are you
she just sad. What you mean? Talk about evaluated. That irritated me when I was watching it.
But I'm glad he took up for her.
Yep. So his dad says, she's not been the same, since. And then he just kind of stops or whatever. Quit talking about it.
And that kind of leads you to believe, like, since what?
Right.
What happened?
Right. What you talking about? Are you talking about since the divorce? Are you talking about something else? Like, what you talking about? And so Henry begins to narrate again. And he's like, my dad thinks that him leaving broke my mom's heart, but Henry says he disagrees. So Henry says he thinks it was her just losing love in general. It wasn't him or the dad. And Henry understood this and wanted to make up for some of the neglect that his mama was experiencing because the daddy just left.
Exactly.
And so it was so cute. This is one of the cutest things. Henry made his mom a cute little coupon book. And it was filled with things like, cleaning, like I'll wash the dishes for a week, fixing stuff up, being breakfast in the bed. Yeah. Being a handyman. And he even took her on a date to the movies. So it was cute. Yeah. And, she definitely enjoyed it and smiled and loved that her son was doing it.
It was kind.
Yeah, it was. It was. And she felt seen, but it's still, she still felt loneliness. She still didn't, it still was a little bit missing in her life.
And he could feel that.
Yeah.
Like, even as a son, he knew he couldn't be everything to her.
Right. Yeah. Oh, but it was still a good effort and good try. I'm sure it still helped in some way.
Yes.
Put a smile on her face. Right. Getting her out the house,
Showing her that she matters to him,
right.
basically. And then we cut to a scene where they're at the bank, and Henry gives the teller his mom's check. And she asks, oh, how's your mom? And he's like, oh, she's good. And the teller's like, I'd love to see her in here one of these days. So you can kind of tell that they're used to Henry being the one who makes these transactions. And so he narrates, like, I understood who my family was. Her.
Right.
Like, that's
I ain't leaving my mama.
My family.
Right.
So even if it meant only leaving the house once a month to pick up some supplies at Price Mart.
Yeah.
So they sat in the car for a moment. And the mom was like, kind of doing some deep breaths before driving, or not before driving, before getting out of the car and going to the store. So we're back in the present moment. And they know she needs to go in there because he needs new pants. And he asked, when they get into the store, he asked, okay, is it okay if I go check out the comics over there? And she's like, yeah, sure. Just don't wonder, And so he does, right? He goes over to the comics. He's kind of looking through them a little bit, and a man comes out from the side door. All right, it's one of those little flapping side doors at a supermarket. And he walks right up to him, and he says, like, I wonder if you can give me a hand. And Henry's like...
And you see, too, like, he got a little blood down on his, like, bottom stomach area.
Yeah. And Henry's like, you're bleeding. And Frank's like, yeah, I fell out a window. And Henry tells him, we should get you help. And Frank's like, nah, I wouldn't want to upset anyone. And so Frank goes, did you come here with that woman over there? He sees Adele over there looking at some stuff. And he's like, my mom? He's like, she looks like the kind of person that could help me. Do you think she'd give me a ride? And so next thing you know, they're walking through the store, Frank over to Adele. And when they do, Frank takes a couple items.
He put on the jacket.
He takes his hat. He takes the hat he has on off. He puts on a jacket. He puts on a different hat. And he just kind of does this as he's walking smoothly, right? And Henry takes him up to his mom. Frank tells her, you got a good kid here. He was kind enough to offer me a ride. And his mother is visibly shaken, right? Adele's like, well, and she looks a little confused, like, why would you tell him that,
Yeah.
She's, we've got a big afternoon planned, and I don't think we can help you. And Frank's like, oh, well, that's a shame. I thought we could have a catch. And Henry's like, oh, I suck at baseball. And Frank's like, hey, you used to. He's like, I'll help you. And when he does that, he turns and he's looking straight at Henry when he tells him this.
Right.
And Adele can see that, oh, shoot, there's some blood even at the, behind his ears.
Right. Like, who are you?
And that makes her even more concerned. Like, what?
Yeah.
Give this man a ride to my house.
Right. No.
And she's like, I'm sorry. We really can't help you.
And so upon hearing this, Frank puts his hand on the back of Henry's neck. And it was like just a strong, it wasn't like aggressive. It was just kind of like a assertive, strong, like, this needs to happen. Like, I need y'all help. I'm sorry. Like, y'all just happen to be the one. Like, and so at the register, Adele's also, of course they just kind of like was like, all right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so at the register, Adele, she's all nervous and stuff.
And she doesn't do
like
anything.
she usually do, right? And then she ain't doing nothing. So Frank opens up the door for her, and Henry has him get in the back seat. And, he sits in the back with Henry. And she's in the front, about to drive and whatnot. But they are just kind of like, okay, what is this? Like, but it wasn't, I don't know. It was just, it was a soft, strong, I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, okay, wait, what's happening? Yeah. You're letting this stranger in your car. I feel a little bit nervous for you, but at the same time, I'm not too worried.
Exactly, which is weird. Like,
because he's not being his mannerisms aren't like, I'm gonna hurt. He's not erratic at all.
Yeah,
like he's not panicking.
Yeah,
none of that.
He's very calm. Just yep. And so Adele, she's like, "Where do you want to go?" And Frank says, your house. And he puts his arm around Henry.
Okay, like, yeah, we're going to...
Like, right. He's like, about to post up, just for a few moments to rest my legs. Like,
okay.
What? So, yeah, that's what he ended up doing. So, on the way there, they passed a cop car. But they saw it coming and they heard it coming. But they all just acted normal. Even Adele, she was just
nothing
like, well...
suspicious here.
Yeah, right. So they pull up to the house, and Frank helps, them take the groceries in. And when he gets in the house, he kind of like roams around, just looks around and see, what they working with. I guess what he working with in this case. And, Adele's like, excuse the mess, we've been busy. And Frank says, nice place. And he sits down at the table while Adele's in the kitchen. She's putting stuff, away or like acting like she's going to make him some coffee and tea. But she also kind of like hides a knife in her dress pocket.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do you take your coffee?
So Henry asked him, how did you hurt your legs? Like, he's starting to wonder, like, okay, what's up with this guy who's in this house?
Right.
Frank's like, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be straight with you, Henry. I heard it jumping out a second-story window of a hospital after getting my appendix taken out. So they ask him, like, when it happened, and they find out it was just that morning, right? And Henry's like, you escaped? So now the police are looking for you. Like, Henry's starting to put it together.
Right. Like, hold on.
And Adele, like, she tries to give him, like, that mug of coffee, right? And when she does, he takes her hand, the one that's on the mug, and he tells her, I'd really appreciate it if you just let me stay until nightfall. So he's just basically at this point asking, let me hide out here.
Right.
And Adele asks him, how do we know that you won't hurt us?
Right.
He says, I've never hurt anyone intentionally in my entire life.
Yeah.
So
And that's kind of funny. That's actually kind of like a true statement.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about that, like and the key word here is intentionally.
Yes. Yep.
So that I was like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
unless
thanks
I
for
intended to.
exactly. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I have not hurt nobody unless I intended to. That's real.
And so,
would you have been okay with that response?
I like the way he said it.
Yeah. Would you still would have let him in? Like, okay.
He was already in. I just want to definitely make no. Like, he was in the house. He's inside looking around.
He was.
He sat down.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's already in. So I think they're doing one of those moves where, okay, if we make conversation with them and get them to see we're human, they're less likely to hurt us.
Right.
But Adele says, you have to understand that's hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I know. That's fair.
Yeah, that is fair. Your ass just escape from prison for God knows what, because at this point they don't know why.
They don't. Yeah. And you asking to stay away, you bleeding from different areas.
Exactly.
But he's not acting frantic.
Yeah,
I
he's
definitely want to say that. But he asked Henry, how far are the train tracks? And Henry's like, 20 minutes. And Adele, she's like, people come over randomly, to friends, salesmen, other people, and he's like, it's okay. And she's like, well, I'm a lot stronger than you think. And Frank looks at her and he just says, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
And so she's also like, I won't let anything happen to my son.
Yeah.
And Frank just says, he's in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
he oddly makes you feel comfortable. This dude literally just escaped prison.
Yep.
But he makes you feel comfortable. Like, he's literally like calm, and they're calm because he's calm.
Yep.
Like, it's a little tense because it's like, okay, we don't really know him, but it was calming. It was weird.
And he answered all of those truthfully.
Like, yeah, he did. He answered every question truthfully.
He's like, yeah, I don't doubt that you're strong. Yeah, your son is in good hands. Like, I get people might come over. You're just telling her. Like,
yeah. See, I like the truth. Anyway, so we flash back to young Frank. So this is one of the storylines that they went behind the scenes on with what I was talking about earlier. So we got young Frank, and he's throwing some hay, and he's looking at a girl, smiling at her, and vice versa in the distance.
Yeah, she's smiling at him too.
Little blonde hair, little girl.
She thinks she cute.
So then that was just a moment. That was just a little flashback moment. So then we cut back to the house. They're watching TV, and on the TV is the news about escaping Frank.
Escaped convict.
Escaped convict Frank.
Yeah.
Chambers. That's his name. Frank Chambers, honey. He escaped just that morning that they think he's likely nearby because of his injuries. Because, he jumped from the window. Wait, do they know that yet?
Yeah, they know he jumped from the window.
But he jumped from the window, so he kind of messed up his ankle. And so they reveal, though, on the news report, it says serving 18 years for murder.
Murder. Ooh.
Yep. So then Frank, he's like, it didn't happen that way. Like, the way they just said it and how they making it seem, it didn't happen the way they making it seem. So, that's what I'm convicted for, but it didn't happen the way they saying.
It's complicated.
Yeah. And so then Henry, he's like, isn't it against the law to hide a fugitive? And Frankie is like, you have a wise son. Like, your son's smart. And so Adele, she tells him, like, no one has to know. It's going to be fine. He'll just lay low and we'll keep moving. He'll keep moving. Mm-hmm. And so Frank says that it isn't enough. And he doesn't want them to get in trouble and that he should probably tie them up in case someone finds them. And he was only going to just tie up just Adele. So Henry, don't worry. Yeah. Because Henry knows he doesn't want anything to happen to his mom. So
yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah, so Frank is like, okay, I got you. So he just ties up Adele, but it's not forceful at all. It's very gentle.
I know.
And me and Bridget was laughing because low key, Bridget, you said it. You said what you said.
I felt like originally seeing this, I felt a little perverted because I was liking the way that he tied her up, and not to kink shame, like that's not that perverted. Whatever. We're not gonna get into it. Right. But the way that he touched her was like, he's tying her up, but he's doing it gently.
Yeah.
Like he's
like taking
he's not
time.
pulling any of her muscles or like making her
hurting
uncomfortable
her.
at all. And even just the areas of her body that don't, like when he moved her feet.
Yeah.
He used both of his hands like, I will pick up your feet.
It was like a precious foot. Like, he was like, let me put on this glass slipper, Cinderella, my darling.
Oh, well, if you're gonna do it that way.
Exactly. So that was funny because we low key was like, yeah, it was a little Oh man, but I think too, like I think that was just also his way of showing them that he wasn't going to hurt them, and that he wanted to gain their trust. Like, I'm legit not going to hurt y'all. Like, I want to. I guess in a sense, I'm just speaking for him because he ain't say none of this in the movie.
Say it.
But I feel like he was like, I want to be the best me in this moment, in this time with these people who have allowed me in this house. He was like, I want to take care of y'all, and it's crazy that he kind of took on that like.
Yes,
he took it on
because in the very next scene, like he's defrosting some beef, right? He's cutting up his onions. You're like, what's he doing? He literally starts cooking them a meal. Like he has Henry open up a couple cans of beans and tomato sauce.
Yes,
and he hands them over. He throws this all together.
Whipped it up real quick.
And during this time, like, Henry is just looking at him and his mom back and forth, and the mom's looking too, just like,
because it's so calm and just like he ain't here cooking. Like,
it smells. He's putting effort into it. It's not like he's like savage. Like he's like, I'm about to cook this up. He even put some of the coffee into it.
Sure did.
You're like, coffee.
Little secret ingredient. He cut up the vegetables. You know.
Like, and when he finished, so he makes a bowl. Right. He takes it straight over to Adele. He sits next to her. Like, it gets his spoon out. Blows on it and starts to feed it to her, right? Then she eats it, and it's so strange how much you like that scene, because you're like, look at how he's taking care. Because he just cooked her.
We just sound like crazy idiots. The fact that we're talking about this escaped convict, but that
and we're gushing, but you have to see it.
Yeah,
you have to see his aura, like the way that he is.
Yeah,
makes you trust him.
It does. It does.
And that's something where we were like, are we even bigger fans of Josh Brolin now? Because for you to act this well, like, you got to be believable. Like, you actually probably are a good person.
Right. Is this really part of the swag?
But it's sweet. He feeds it to her, right? And then we jump back into another flashback real quick. And Adele and Henry are sitting on a hammock, and they're having the talk. So this is her and her son.
Yeah.
And she's talking about how most people focus on the physical changes that kids go through at his age. But there's another aspect. And, you know, it's not just about stuff that your body does or what secretes from your body, but making love is...
It's not about that. It's not about...
It's more about those bodily functions. Like, people forget to talk about how it feels. How there's another kind of hunger, like a hunger for human touch.
Yeah.
It's called desire.
Yeah.
You know, and like the way she's saying this to him isn't cringy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, Mom, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, she's just telling him the truth, like talking to him real, like, listen,
and Henry's
Henry.
receiving it too. He's receiving it very maturely.
Yep. When she's talking about that, you know, thirst for, or that hunger for human touch and that desire, it also shows this flashback of young Frank.
Yeah.
And the girl that he was smiling at from earlier, Blondie.
Yeah.
And they're cuddled up on the back of his old pickup truck, you know, somewhere out in the country. It's a cute little scene.
Yeah.
And it's a really quick little flashback.
Right. Of Frank's life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Frank and this girl starting to get together.
But in the past.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like we start to see like, oh, okay, he had like a love interest in the past, and we're going to find out because he ain't with her now, so clearly he's something up. But we also see like even then him and his sensualness.
Well, and
his love to
I feels like he was going through what she's talking about, like that human touch and that desire.
Right.
Except for he wasn't going through it the same way Henry is right now. You know, she's explaining it to him and is showing Frank's
life
version of that.
That's true. Yep. So that night, Frank doesn't leave. Okay.
Nope.
But he does let Adele sleep in her bedroom. And so in the middle of the night, Henry, he come out his room. He's all, quiet. And he checks in on his mom to make sure she okay, which that's right, Henry. Good job. And he also checks on Frank too. And he's downstairs on the couch sleep, but he's on his back. And I kind of like this scene because I said it was something I would do. But Frank or Henry is kind of like, he's sitting kind of at the steps looking down on Frank, and he's just staring at him. But it looks like Frank is asleep, but really he's staring back at him. Yeah. Like, Frank is up too, bro. Like, I'm checking things out too. I want to make sure we good too. I don't know, y'all.
It's like, can we trust each other?
Right.
I don't know.
That's exactly what it was. So I like that scene because literally Henry was looking down at him like, then he realized he had his eyes open. He ran back upstairs, but
that was also his like cue, like
yep.
to see, like, also look, he checks in to make sure his mom is
that's
safe.
right.
You
and
know
I
what I mean?
love that, and that's exactly.
Yeah,
like, bruh, yeah, we doing this for you, but that's momski. So
right.
like, right now, like, we
know
good,
who you are.
right?
I'm just checking.
I love that, and I think Frank respected that. He
Yeah.
respected that in Henry. Like, yeah, that's how you supposed to
That's
be.
why he wasn't like, get out of here, little nigga.
Right? Yeah.
None of that. It
Wasn't
just
none
like,
of
I
that.
feel you.
Exactly. So then we go back to a flashback of Frank as young Frank again. And when we say young, I'm talking about like in his like early 20s maybe.
Yeah, because he's going out to war. He
Yep.
has to at least be 18.
Yeah, yep. So this is young Frank, early 20s, and he's hugging this girl goodbye before he gets on. Yeah, Blondie, before he gets on the bus to go off to war.
Yeah, he got his uniform on.
Yep. And he's just kind of saying goodbye, and then it kind of does like this cut scene of a bathtub with it overflowing and it just water just flowing out. Yep. So that was kind of like that quick little flashback. So then up on the screen comes Friday. The words Friday. Yep. So now we know it's the next day. So the next morning, Frank is having breakfast with Henry, and he tells him that he doesn't blame him for wondering what he did, because Henry happened just to look down at the table at the newspaper, and it was talking about Frank.
Yep, front page.
Right. And so, that's why Frank said that, because he saw that Henry looked at it. But he was like, there's more to the story than the picture there.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
It just says murderer.
Right. And it's just like, they just literally just naming me something. Do y'all even really know?
Look at us. We're siding with him. Like, that's how good you can feel his vibe is.
Exactly.
Because it's like, why would you side with him? He's a murderer.
Right.
Wait, you got to feel how Frank is.
And just,
like, just
right,
wait.
Right. And so Henry asks how Frank escaped. And Frank tells him that, he told the guard if he left, that he'd jump out the window. And so then the guard went for a smoke break after he said that. And I really like this because Frank then says, after he said that, he was like, nothing misleads people like the truth. And this, if you listen to it, it sounds like, what? What do you mean? But really think about what he just said. And the thing is, because he told the truth, the security guard didn't even take that for truth. He didn't take it for face value. He just thought he was playing, because how could he be telling the truth, right? So he misled him in a sense, and that's why his ass went out to go smoke a daggone cigarette. And it's crazy because Frank told him the truth.
Yeah, he didn't even lie.
Right. That's why I love the truth, bro. I'm telling you, because it is true. You can literally like mislead. Like if people ain't looking for it, or you just whatever, like you gonna literally take the truth for. You're gonna think it's misleading. Exactly. So I really like that saying, 'cause that's so true. Like, that's right. That's why you tell the truth, because you just never. I'm telling you, boy. I'm telling you, the outcome don't be how you think it's gonna be. It might work in your favor. Have you ever thought about that? Okay. Anyway.
So then Frank asked Henry if he has any brothers or sisters, and Henry was like, "My mom tried, but I have a stepbrother and a half sister with my dad." And Frank's like, how does a fella let a woman like your mother get away? Which is the question. Thank you, Frank. Right. Henry lets him know, like, oh, he got together with his secretary. And Frank was just like, good riddance. Right. Because it's right. All right. Good riddance to bad rubbish. If that's how you want to be. Bye. And so Adele comes in. This morning, she comes down to their little breakfast scene, and she has the rope in her hand, like, she has the rope. Right. And Frank's like, we won't be needing that anymore. If the time comes where you have to say, I tied you up, you won't be lying. Yeah, there we go again. He lead with the truth. I like that. Like, let's literally, like, yeah. We don't have to make this a lie. Right. This is what it is. I tied her up. Yep. And they realize that the trains won't be coming through for him to catch, because it's a holiday weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, right? It's Friday. So Frank, he offers breakfast to Adele, and Adele, and she kind of looks at Henry, who's already biting into it. He's eating already. He's like, you got to try it. And so she bites into it and just, you can tell she thought it was astonished, fire, right? Yeah. Just looked at him like, wait a minute, you just cooked this? First you made that chili, now you made this breakfast? What? Because, I love it. So then, y'all, we see a little compilation of Frank, right? And it is so subtly attractive, right? He's fixing up all these areas of the house, right?
Yeah.
He's fixing up the stones outside. He's at the car in the driveway, right?
Yeah.
He's changing her oil.
Yeah.
And even Henry's sitting next to him and he's asking him to bring him a tool.
Right.
And he tells him, you know, when Henry doesn't know which one to get, he picks up the right tool and he's like, it's this one. You know what I mean? He's teaching him.
Yeah.
And he even he changes the fuse, the blinkers, right?
Checked out the firewood.
He replaces the filter.
He cleaned out the gutters.
Yeah. Well, yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
he does. Well, he does more on another day, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like, he does so many good things.
He does.
And he even lets her know, like, when he checked out her firewood, like, she's being shorted. He washed and waxed the floors.
Yeah.
Man. And then it even shows him playing catch with Henry, like literally intensely saying, okay, you want to take this finger and put this right on the line and just barely hold it, right? And
he was so gentle with his teaching. I feel like a good teacher definitely is assertive and stern, but like gentle too. And that's exactly how he was. There's
a warm streak to it.
Yeah.
There's a balance.
Right. Yep.
And then inside, she's sewing up his pants, right? Mm-hmm. And he's sitting and he's looking at her sew them and telling her, like, oh, you bite your lip when you sew.
Mm-hmm. Don't be looking at me.
No, sorry.
No, I'm talking about Frank, girl.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking about Frank looking at Adele. Like, don't be looking at me. Like, he talking about you bite your lip. That means you were staring and looking at me while I'm doing this. Don't be looking at me.
The thing about Frank is that I feel like this is the type of, and I'm going to use a buzzword here, masculinity that women really crave. Where he is assertive, but he's also gentle. He has that balance of that warm strength, like,
right.
And he's fixing things. And he even notices her son, like, he's not doing this like Henry's not there. He's including him in this because he knows he's a part of it too.
That's a man.
And then cinematography wise, they use a lot of the perfect sunlight in this. And it's not like the noon sun, but it's almost like golden hour sun.
Yeah, it's like, just a little bit,
right through the trees, and it's beautiful.
And y'all know golden hour. It's beautiful, beautiful light. So yeah, it's definitely okay. Yep. And too, I feel like it was so weird that he was starting to fulfill a type of role in Henry and Adele's life. Like it was missing, and he fulfilled it. Like I think too, that's another thing. Like they were like, wow, like we like this feeling. Like he's in here fixing stuff. Like we feel protected. We feel like we're being taken care of. So yeah,
and being fed so well.
Yeah, because clearly he can cook. Like, shoot, I guess 18 years in the pan, you get creative, I guess. So yeah, and I like too that the son is seeing that he's connected with the son, and then the son is also seeing how he's gentle with his mom and how he like, he just tends to her in a way that's not overbearing, but then not like, I don't know, he just tends to her well. And so anyway, while they're sitting there, like you said, she was sewing his pants up or whatever, and then they hear a bang on the door. Like it's the damn police, which I can't stand when people knock like that. Don't even knock on my door, nigga. That's why I got a daggone doorbell.
It was too much. It was louder than that one.
It was even louder today. It was one of them. Y'all know the
clanky ones.
Yeah,
on the first door, not the big door.
Exactly. Yeah, all the metal shaking around.
Yep.
Dang, get off of my door. This startles them, so they all kind of like drink, quickly jumps up and stuff, and Frank kind of quickly grabs Adele and kind of like holds her up against him. Kind of like as if he was to do a chokehold, but not doing a chokehold. He wasn't choking her or nothing. He just kind of just grabbed her. And so Henry just kind of runs to the door, and Frank says, that he trusts that you won't get nervous and say something suspicious. He's like, I just trust that you won't, that you won't do that. And so Henry gets it like, okay, I got an assignment. Let me see if I got the assignment. And so then he opens up the door, and it's his neighbor, Mr. Jervis. First off, just that name, just
Mr. Jervis.
It sounds like a neighbor. Just get your ass. But yeah, Mr. Jervis played by J.K. Simmons, and he has a bucket of peaches in his arm,
and they look good too.
Yeah. And so then he's asking about Adele. Like he was like, hey, I was just looking for your mother, Adele. But Henry, he convincingly tells him that she's not home. So the neighbor then says, he's like, well, but that's not like her. Like, has she been following the news? Like she left you here by yourself? And so he gives the peaches over to Henry. he says that there's something that he wants to discuss with his mom. And so Henry's like, yeah, okay, you know, is everything okay? And then the Mr. J guy, or his neighbor, he talks about the escaped convict and, you know, that Henry should be answering the door without an adult and all that stuff. And so what Henry ended up saying was that his mama was in the bathtub. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not saying she's not here. I'm just saying she can't come to the door because she in the tub. So, you know, that's how we kind of got away with that, like where he ain't asked too many questions after that. He left the peaches and he peaced out.
So once he left, right, mm-hmm. Henry closes the door. Frank lets go of Adele. Crisis is averted. And, you know, Frank tells Henry, like, you did a good job. And Adele's like, Henry, can you go off and check your pets? I forgot what his pet's name. He has a little pet hamster. Can you check Hammy's water?
Yeah, make sure you got some.
And it's a really hot day. And she's clearly trying to get him to leave the room.
Yeah, because she won't talk to Frank.
He's like, well, I checked it earlier. She's like, it's a really hot day. You should probably go check again. Frank's like, yeah, listen to your mom. So when he leaves, Adele says to Frank, like, you can't do that again. Mm-hmm. You know, my son is not your lookout.
Exactly.
She's like, she sees the way her son looks at him and that he seeks his approval. And she wants that for him too. Like, she sees the praise that he's getting from him.
Right.
But she doesn't want him to get it for that type of behavior.
Right. And I felt that. That's right, mama. Because don't be using my son.
On the back. Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, but now you can't do that for that. Mm-hmm. You ain't doing that now.
And Frank's like, he says to her, like, I can't promise what's going to come to the door. Mm-hmm. She's like, I get that. And so, like, that's how they had their little, like, no, this isn't how it's going to go.
Right. But I liked it. It was like their little compromise. Like, she was like, okay. So I was wondering, too, what would have happened if somebody else came to the door that, you know, wanted to kind of, what is he saying when he says that? That he can't, you know, he can't control who.
I think he's saying, like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. So you both know what of us just be okay with not knowing, and then it happened. Whatever happens, happens.
That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, me too.
But so Frank bites into a peach, which the peaches really did look good, right? And he's like, oh, it's delicious, but it sucks that they're all so ripe because there's no way they're going to get through them all. Because he did give them a bucket of peaches.
Yeah, like.
So Frank, he has another idea. That's what he says. And
I was like, oh, Frank, you better go in the kitchen again.
And he is.
Yes.
Hold on, because I got to do that one too. So, y'all, this scene, basically what he does in this scene is that he talks them through it, like, as it's happening, the process of making a pie. They're making this peach pie and they're working all together. You could see them getting the different ingredients out and pouring stuff in and using their hands and, you know, getting the cinnamon. And it's just, it's a sweet, sensual scene.
It is. And then
the
again,
whole family there.
Yep. And then we got the beautiful sunlight too. It was at this point we were also cooking with that beautiful, like, sunlight, kind of golden hour, but not just quite yet. So again, it was just very. It was a really good bonding moment. I felt like they were, like, really connecting, which is so funny because y'all just met this man. He spent the night. Y'all met him in the stove. He was bleeding. Yeah, running from the cop, got escaped, and here y'all are in the daggone kitchen making peach pie from the peaches that you just got. Like,
how does he have that type of pull
together?
On
exactly.
And it makes sense for them to be doing it together. Yeah, like, it sounds crazy. Like,
that's why I kept asking her. I was like, did they wash their hands? Because the way they was all touching all the peaches and stuff.
And so to finish making the pie, he even, like, he encourages her, like, and he does it so warmly. Yeah. Like, you know, like, this is the last part. You got to do this for us. And he's like, help me put a roof on this house. And then she flips it and does the top crust of the pie. Yeah. Yes. And she does it perfectly. And
the crazy thing is, you know,
wonderful moment.
It was, because she was already, like, shaky. And so she was kind of nervous about it. So it took her a little bit, but she was holding it like, okay, I can do this. And, you know, because you don't want to mess up. You don't want to be the one to mess up the whole pie. Like, really? Like, dang, we did all that. So, yeah, but it was real cute. He was real gentle with her and encouraged her. And she did it.
I think it was good how it showed he trusted her, even though he knew she was shaky. Yeah. Right? Like, you can do this, and encouraging her, like,
I trust you. You trust me.
Roof on this house. Like, you can do this.
And I said at this moment, it was pleasantly cringe. And I mean that in a good way. It was pleasantly cringe. That's why I say pleasantly. Because it was like, I was also thinking from the standpoint of the son, because it also showed him experiencing and seeing them connect. So he's kind of like on the outside looking in. And of course it makes sense because the whole premise of, or the whole, movie is told by the son's perspective. So I like how they were showing him, because they kept kind of showing scenes of what was going on with Frank and Adele. But then it was also like, Henry got to see his mom kind of connecting with this man. And it was like, and again, like we said, very sensual. Wasn't nothing ick about it. It was just like, wow, this is beautiful. Yeah. And so it was just like, it was kind of cringy in that sense, because it was like, ugh, my mom, like, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy for you right now. Like, I love this for you.
I like that perspective from the son's point of view. I like to look at that scene personally from her point of view because of a few things. Like, I think it's good for like the mom, for the Kate Winslet's character Adele. Yeah. Like, it's good for her, like you said, her son to see a man interacting with her like that. Like, taking we're care showing of her. Love for each other. Yeah, without being we're not even really being gross. Exactly. Like, it's just that I don't have to be so far away from your mom and make every touch that I have with her sexual. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I could touch your mom's cheek in front of you and be, like, touch her hands and caress her without,
It was very, and I think it was healthy.
Yeah.
It was healthy.
It felt like he treated her body like an extension of his own. And again, like I said, although, like we as humans, we can tend to look at things on the really sexy side.
Get your minds out the gutter.
Because it can be sexy too. Yeah. But this, to me, was so kind of genuine and pure in a way, in nature. That it's just humans touching each other, and that desire that she mentioned, and human hunger, and it was beautiful. And now all I want to do is make some pie and keep talking about sex.
And you know what, too, with the pie, cinematographically, I think that's a word. Oh, well, if it ain't, y'all get what I'm saying. But it showed when the pie was being cooked. It showed a real up close time lapse of the pie. And I actually really like that, because now going back and thinking about it, the time that they took to make this pie, the effort, the love that they put in this pie, I like how they actually kind of translated that too in a cinema way, with showing it time lapsed cooking in the oven. Yeah. Like the work, you know what I'm saying, that went into it, and now here it is coming to like
fruition.
Yeah, and I know it's a little deep, but
no, I like
that was the representation in that, and showing that was to show like that bonding and that togetherness that they just kind of created in such a short time at that. You know what I'm saying? So the time lapse, get me. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the pie comes out perfectly, and Henry's like eating. He's playing his game. He's eating some pie, and then Adele and Frank, they're on the steps behind Henry. So they're on the steps, and they just kind of draw a little close to, each other. And, it's kind of cute, because I was like, is her arm hanging off his leg? And she was like eating like the pie that they just made, like her little arm hanging on. It was just very like casual and natural. And so then Frank, he kind of pulls his arm around Adele's waist. Okay. So he kind of does like that initial touch, like, is this okay type of thing, without it being like, is this okay? And then, she kind of like stops a little bit, but she likes it. She don't stop him. And then he kind of like wraps his arm around some more and kind of really take her in. And then she looks at him, just kind of like a sigh of relief. And like, I don't know, like,
one
she
of those,
felt comfort.
I needed that. Like,
thank you for that touch. Yeah. So they had a little moment. And then it was crazy, because the whole time, you think that Henry is playing this game, but he's checking in and looking at them on the steps behind him through his game, through the game screen. He can see
he
him.
Looks at the reflection.
Yeah, it's the reflection. Yeah, because it's 1987. He ain't looking at no damn Game Boy or nothing like that. But anyway, so that night, a cop, he slowly drives by. And they've been pretty much doing that all day. And, Frank's like, I should go. He was like, they won't come back for a few more hours. And so Adele's like, well, maybe tomorrow, we should give your stitches more time to, heal. Like, you can tell she don't want him to leave. And then, Frank's like, they're not going to stop looking. And Henry says, they have dogs that can smell your blood. You should probably let your stitches heal, indicating that he wants Frank to stay too.
Yep.
So they convince him to stay. And so later that night, when Henry is taking another slice of pie up to his room, he looks at the couch where Frank slept and realizes he's not there. So he knows.
Why is he not on the couch?
He know. Oh, okay. That's what that is. So we hear them whispering. So we hear Frank and Adele, they're whispering in Adele's room. And Henry begins to narrate. And so he's like, rhythm. This is the world I thought about when I heard their late night conversation dissipate. And, you know, you start to hear like some soft moaning. Every time
it's really subtle. Like, it's not it's not, I can't think of any other word, but pornographic. Right. It's just more like soft sounds.
Yeah, just like
the voice is just
like they're
voices.
talking. And, pillow talking, like just connecting. And, you know, maybe a little touching and rubbing. But anyway.
Definitely.
Take that out.
You can't hear it, but it's there.
Take that out.
Keep it in.
No.
So then we see Saturday. It is another day. It shows the outside of their house. We see the word Saturday. And that morning, Henry wakes up and downstairs he sees that Frank is in the backyard. And he looks at Frank and kind of wondering, like, what's he about to do? Is he about to run off and leave? But Frank bends down and he picks up some flowers from the ground, like out of the ground, some little white ones. And he's looking at them. And they're, you know, you could tell it's for the mom. Yeah. It's so sweet. And then again, Then Henry narrates how Frank fixed the stairwell to the basement. And we see this little compilation. Yeah. He got the squeak out of the kitchen door and how he cleaned the debris out of the gutters. And when he's doing that, Adele comes out and brings him something to drink. And she has the flower that he picked for in her hair. It's just so cute. He did her laundry. He ironed.
And they were doing it together, too. So there were some things they were doing together I think was a part of their bonding, too.
Yeah. They definitely were ironing together and doing laundry, folding stuff. And just in return, like, the mom taught him how to Roomba. So it shows her, like, teaching him these dances. And they were like, we thought it was only right, you know, to fire up the barbecue. Right. It's Labor Day weekend, right? It's Saturday. Right. So they sent Henry out to get some groceries. And so he has this list and he goes off on his bike and he goes to the store and we run into another character that's going to come in throughout the film. This little girl and who has that terrible, like, it looks like you party too much type eyeliner. You know what I mean? Where it's all smudgy.
Because she only like 14, 15. Girl, why you looking like you party all night?
Her hair just is the type of like greasy, stringy looking type of hair. Where it's like, I don't want to touch that. Yeah. And
she just dusty.
She's in the aisle, right? And she tells him, drinking aluminum gives you Alzheimer's. And then she asks him, you know, is there anything fun to do in this town? And he just tells her, bowling. You know, like, okay, well.
Because he was over there by the Cokes, because that's why she said aluminum.
Like girl, nobody was talking to you.
Why you all up in my shopping cart?
So then he goes up to the register, right? And he's buying the stuff, and the guy notices that he has a razor. And he's like, oh no, this is a men's razor. You want to get your mom the pink one, like? Yeah. And he's like, no, it's for me. And he looks it up and is like, all right, just keep the guard on, okay? Or like he's like, are you practicing? And he's like, yeah. Like, okay, just keep the guard on. Do me a favor,
right?
But also, don't worry about what I'm buying.
Exactly.
And just let me go.
And
as he rides back, the cops are they're set around town. Stopping cars. You could see like they're plastering signs on the trees. You could tell like this is the most interesting thing that has ever happened in this little town. Like, will y'all calm down? You putting it out on trees?
I was literally, while we was watching, I was literally like, what the hell? Y'all ain't got nothing else to do.
Nothing.
Like y'all, like the whole squad is out here. Like, come on. Like,
it's on the news. It's already in the paper. Like, yo, we get it.
So small.
Somebody escaped days ago at this point.
Right, you think he's gonna stick around here?
Yeah,
he kind of did. I mean, still, y'all don't know that.
He could have left days ago,
right?
But in the next scene, this heifer, this neighbor of theirs, Evelyn, right? She comes in and she basically forces Adele's character like to watch her son, right? And her son is this nonverbal, wheelchair bound. Young man, right? And when she does, it's because the door isn't closed because Henry didn't close it all the way behind him. But that's neither here nor there. She pounces on in, and it's one of those people who's talking as she's coming through the door. So she's going on about like, Adele, I need you to watch Barry. Adele, just walked into the house all intrusively.
Girl, you don't get
and
this little...
And you could see like the way that Henry tries to ward her off, like he kind of runs up there like well actually I think she's over here, I'm gonna go check this, and he goes around the corner where like he sees they're kind of hiding him off, and his mom like, okay, she's still talking, by the way, like, I need you to watch Barry, my dad's in the hospital and I gotta go give him a visit. I know it's short notice, but I really don't have anyone else. Adele. Just one of those people. Yeah. Not even letting Adele get in a word before making this whole explanation.
I need this. If I didn't have anybody else to go to.
Mm-hmm. And Adele's too shaky. She's too much like, well, actually, it's really not, but she doesn't quite get it out, right? Yeah. So there's no other choice. And she leaves Barry there. Mm-hmm. And she walks out and she's like, I'll be back by the end of the night.
Yeah.
It takes 2 hours to get there. I'll be,
Right.
So she just pawns her son off on her.
Yeah, she's okay. Yeah, she was just like, fine, like, I'll do it.
But it's okay.
Right. Yeah, it's actually ended up working out. Because Frank, the whole time this is all going on, he kind of peers out and sees that it's a little boy in a wheelchair. So he's like, okay, hold on. I think he was already thinking, this is how I'm going to assess the situation.
And I want to also emphasize that I don't think he's little. Like, he seems around...
like a teenager. Like Henry.
Yeah, Henry's age.
Yeah.
Like going into 7th grade, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, yep. So, the door closed, Barry's in there now, and now they have a new addition to the whole little, and so, but we like this because, we know Frank, okay? Frank handles it very kindly. He responds kindly. He talks directly to Barry. Mm-hmm. He just knows how to connect with him. He's not surprised or acting any different or treating Barry any different because he's in the wheelchair. He's like, he just treats him, with respect, and like, it was just sweet. And so he connected with Barry just that quick. Like, what the heck? Yeah. Bro? What type of voodoo is you doing fucking up here? I'm just,
because he talks directly to him. Yeah, he treats him personably.
Right, he does. That's good. Personably, I like that. So he takes, Henry and Barry outside in the backyard, and Frank puts a hat, like the hat that Frank had on Barry, and just kind of did that little head rub, like it was just it was like he just treated him like family. It was crazy,
and you could tell it was the recognition that Barry needed. Like, oh my god, he's acknowledging me. He's not just like not looking at me, not talking to me.
Right. So then at this point they're playing baseball and stuff, and Frank, he's kind of like giving him some encouraging, like, little words or whatever, and like motivating him and stuff, and tells him how to throw the ball. And when Frank throws it, Henry, he hits it. He hit the ball. Yeah. And it clearly boosted his self-esteem because it
was a really sweet moment. Like, he hit it a few times.
Right. And Frank even helps Adele. He was like, come on. And she's all like, no. Go over there and try it.
I can't.
But he quietly like encourages her, and he stays close to her the whole way through though, because he was that. And again, here we are with the pleasantly cringe moment. Because he was all like, did the usual, went all behind her. It was like holding her and stuff. Like, okay, this is how we do it. Like, boy, back up. I know how to do this. I'm sorry.
She clearly didn't, though. Like, she needed his help. I'm not even gonna lie. She seemed a little too dainty.
I know. But yeah, I know. But
that's just how you would have played it. I already know you. She's bringing her personality into it.
Guys, it's like, but at the same time, I would have liked it, but it's just still funny. Like, I know how to do this. Like, but she was all, and so it was just cringe. I don't know. So anyway, they all relaxed together on the porch. Like, Frank's playing the guitar, kind of like it's not really playing. He just got it on his chest and just lightly strumming, and it's just real peaceful. Like,
it's cozy.
Like it seemed like they're just it's just brought a lot. I don't know. It was
it's like
peaceful.
soaking in the perfect day, you know, like when you had a great day, you've had like good company and had fun, and like it's beautiful out, and they're just like all taking it in.
Vibe. Yeah, it was beautiful. So, and I had talked about that because the way he looks, like I was like, look at this B. He's kind of like, he has the characteristics of a leader. Like everything that he does, everybody else around him is doing. They're like, he's calm, we're calm. Like, you know, like. Where it was just such a, you know, he's peaceful, we're peaceful. It was just like such a cool atmosphere.
It felt so unified. Like they wanted to follow his lead because his lead was just so, it's what they needed.
He was setting the tone and he was creating a peaceful atmosphere. He was he was really too fulfilling a role or an area in their life that they were missing, or just even the emotion and the feeling and the thoughts about whatever, like it was all being sparked. And so it was, That
was a dope scene.
It was. Yep. So then we flash back to younger Frank, and he returned home to Blondie. Okay.
From the war.
Yeah, because he was in the war. He comes back, and he could just tell the vibe is different between him and Blondie. They were having sex, but it was very just kind of like get it over with. It wasn't no.
She was like manhandling him almost.
It was right. She just had a distance between her, and you know, we all know when. Well, let me not say we all know, but it was kind of like that distance that you know is felt when you know a relationship is about to end. It was like I felt that, and it's like I could tell things had changed while he was away. Some things happened because she wasn't who she was at the beginning when we saw him kissing her at the first time he's seen her, I guess in a sense, quote unquote, change is when he was getting on that bus and he was leaving, and she didn't look back. She didn't look back to look at him. She just went straight forward, like yeah. And so, you know, so now he's, you know, it was a flashback of another one of those moments where she's not the same. Yeah. And he could tell it. And so it cuts to a scene where in this same flashback where she's having a baby. Yeah. And I was literally like, is that baby his? That baby is not his. That's what she said the first time. That baby is not his. She been out here, bruh. So, you know, you see that they end up having a wedding at the Justice of the Peace. So this is flashback Frank, and he's now getting married to the Blondie chick. Yeah.
After she had a baby.
Yeah. And right.
There's something that in her eye just isn't right. Like you could tell her love isn't really there. Like she's distant.
Right. She's there physically, but she's not there. She's not there in heart. She's not there in mind. She's just like, you can tell it's a complete disconnect. And so then, you know, a little bit after the wedding, it does also cut to a scene to where she's like, you know, just talking to Frank, and she's like, you fool. And like, just looking at him like, and I'm like, yeah, boy, like, you fool. Don't you see? I mean, whatever. But those type of chicks, they take advantage of the type of man. Now, after seeing this movie, that's why I said that with all the love that he had to give, the type of man that Frank is, he was a fool. Like, I get it, because he was like a hopeless romantic. He was like he was one of those relationship and love guys. That's exactly what he was.
I have something to say about that when I tie it all in together. I'll say it later. Because yes, that was a lesson for him. So it's that same evening on that beautiful day, right? And it's nighttime out. It's dark. They're cuddled up on the couch watching a movie, and you can tell it's at the end. The credits have come on, and you know, like they standing up and stretching some. And Frank even goes and gets a cool rag and puts it on Barry's, like forehead, just like cooling him off.
And Barry just looking up at him,
just like, taking it like he loves being seen.
Well, yeah.
And we see that lights come through the windows, like showing, a car's pulling up. Barry's mom, she's coming through. Yeah. But a news clip starts to play, right? Yeah. But they're not paying attention really to the TV. Right. You know, they see the mom has come up and. Right. The lights are on, and let's get Barry set up to go.
Yeah, he goes.
But Frank goes upstairs, you know, because someone's coming. And in comes Barry's mom, barging on in like she does. She's just rambling on already to Adele.
Barge in, Barb. That's her name. Okay. I don't care what her character is in the movie.
Yeah, because she ain't important. Barge in, Barb. We'll call her that. Yeah. So she comes in and she rambles on to Adele, right? Like she always does. while the news is playing, so she's not listening to it. But Barry notices it. He notices that Frank is the guy they're talking about on the news, the one they've been searching for. And like Adele is starting to be a little anxious, starting to fumble, like looking back and forth. Yeah, we were fine. It was a and then the mom. I'll get on her in just a moment. She's like, "Did you have a good day, Barry?" Like, she's so patronizing. I'll get to that in a moment. And Barry does like, yeah, he says that first, but he's looking back at the news and he notices who it is.
Yeah, because so it came back on.
He starts to try to pronounce Frank's name, but again, he's nonverbal, so it's more like you can tell he's getting the first sounds of what out, but he can't get it all the way right. Yeah, and he's doing it over and over again. He's getting louder with the four. Right,
he was trying to tell her that the dude that's on the news is upstairs, bro.
Like, so his mom, as he's saying it louder, she's not even looking at the news, right? But she just,
and he's kind of holding her,
like, he starts to grab her arm and say it even louder, but she's like, enough. We'll watch the TV. Like, you can tell she doesn't know what he even wants. She's like, I'll put you in front of the television when we get home.
And then finally, that's clearly what she do.
That's
just
all
put
she
him
does.
In,
because she told him to do that when she dropped him off.
Did.
Just put him in front of the TV. He'll be fine.
She don't even like.
She doesn't
bond with him.
She doesn't.
That's crazy.
Doesn't. But she slaps him. She's tired of him, yelling that.
She sure did.
And she, so you could see Adele and Henry, like, they feel so bad. Like they stood there and saw that, and they're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they can't give away Frank.
Right. They can't. And Barry kind of shut down after that. He was like, okay, I'm done trying to tell you. Like,
he looked down. He just looked down and stopped. And then even I felt bad as she drove off with him, because you could, like, they were looking at Barry, you could just see his face, like, this is what I go through, like, she doesn't even see me, so this freaking mother, she's just Barb is a terrible person. Barb, she is patronizing to her son. She doesn't really see him.
Too. I hate her. All her
she looked down and she had him dressed too much, and she was just treating him as though
she had he had winter clothes on in the summertime.
Yeah, it's Labor Day. Like, there's a lot of sun. There's a lot of heat. They out here barbecuing, playing baseball. Exactly. It's not time for a winter coat.
The heck?
So you could just tell she's that type of person who assumes, he just needs to be extra babied. And the way she just shuts him down, like, I just hated to see it.
Yeah, she
like, that's his own mother. She's supposed to be taking care of him, but she doesn't see him, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So at night, right?
Okay.
Henry does his little sneak up to his mom's door thing, like he's been doing. He's been doing those every other night. Like, he's been doing that. Like, I like that he, like you said, he checks on his mom. Yeah. And he can hear Adele and Frank whispering. Yeah. And Adele's like, we just start driving. Frank's like, you wouldn't be able to tell all your friends. No one to tell, really. I can't imagine you being free. And Frank's like, I can't be free unless I can walk down the street, my arm around you. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'd like that. And he's like, take you on road trips, take you to places you don't know a soul, like on the run. That's right. Like, he hears them whispering this to each other. So. And she's like, my ex-husband would never let me take Henry. And he's like, you know what that means? Yeah, I know. And so that's what Henry hears, which can mean two different things depending on how you're looking at it. A few different things, because we stopped and we're like, what does that mean to you? What do you think they're saying?
And this kind of cool too, because they always, their conversation is always like ended where they're not really saying exactly what they're saying, but they know what each other is saying. Like,
it's like coded, but they both get it.
Right. Yeah. Because, he's like, you know what that means? And she's like, yeah, I know. Like, she know, like, what? Y'all didn't even talk about it. Like, how did you know? You didn't even
say it out loud, but you know each other so personally.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like, in this short amount of time that you get it. Like,
and you start to realize that's kind of their thing, like you said. It's kind of their thing in their relationship.
But I think Henry doesn't quite fully know which way they're talking about it.
He kind of nervous now, like, what you mean?
He has this strange dream that I got to talk about, right? Because as I watched it again, I saw something different in this dream. And I think it's actually a great addition to this movie because it shows the way that like our minds can give us these dreams, you know, based on what we're feeling or thinking, and going even through, maybe too afraid to say. Yeah. Like he doesn't know how deeply that conversation might have affected him. So in the dream, it's, you know, a girl from the store who was talking about aluminum with the greasy hair and the eye makeup.
Dave gotta give her a name too.
It's technically Evelyn because I call her Uglin later on.
Oh yeah, Uglin. Yeah.
We're so mean.
That's so terrible.
We'll just call her little girl for now.
Yeah, little girl.
So in the dream, it's her. She's asking him like, "Come on, say it."
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?
And they're inside the classroom.
Yeah, they're in the classroom.
And it's like, kind of showing quick flashes of her bra, like through her shirt.
Yeah. And she has on this light pink shirt and you can't see it. And like, that's what he's looking at. He's kind of looking at the back of her neck or like, and she's saying all, you know, just say it. Tell me. What is it you're afraid to say?
Yep.
And like, originally I thought, oh my God, gross. He's kind of having like this sexual dream about this little girl.
But no.
But now, like seeing it again, I'm like, she's literally telling him, bruh, you're afraid that your mom is about to leave you. Like, you're afraid that she's saying in that conversation that they're going to go without you.
Yeah, so speak up and tell them is that what y'all going to do? Confront that situation. That's exactly what they're representing.
Or even just in the back of his mind, he's even afraid to think that that's what it could be.
Yeah. And that's how dreams be working. Because then I also said, and then it made sense, because then it also showed flashes of like, when he was going to, earlier in the days or whatever, he went over, remember when he was at the store and he went over to the comics and he was seeing Glamour magazine and Cosmopolitan and the beautiful women on the cover. Yeah, stuff like that. So it was, so in this dream, it was flashing, going back to that magazine. And so it was kind of mixing like what he's currently kind of like going through or thinking about. And then also mixing with like his, you know, preteen thoughts and puberty. Growing into puberty and growing into like that. And then also too, that's being kind of sparked because he's seeing it, this sensual, healthy love kind of forming between his mom and Frank. And so it's kind of sparking a lot of that. So the dream literally
that
merged.
Desire, that human longing.
And that's how dreams be doing too, girl. Because they be, you can learn a lot from your dreams.
And like you said, like it's healthy, right? But he's looking at
it wasn't like he was like, you know, learning sexual stuff through puberty. I mean, through porn. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't all like ick. It wasn't, and that's I like how they did that. Where because you know, obviously we all been teenagers. Everybody that's obvious, you know, an adult. You've been a teenager before, so I like that. That was portrayed, but it wasn't in an ick way where you felt uncomfortable. It was like, because this is a natural, healthy way of. You know, because at some point, you know, the kids gotta learn. Like, it should come from a good example.
His mom is explaining to him, like, you have this desire that people don't talk about that piece. Right. So I'm like warning you that taboo. This is something that that you will feel. It's not just your body. Right. It's your mind is going to be like, what?
Right. You know, emotions. There's a lot into it. Yeah. So then we cut to a scene and it says Sunday on the screen. So now we know how many days went by. About 3 days or something. So that morning.
Yeah, because it showed Friday, it showed Saturday, today's Sunday. Okay. But it showed Friday after their Thursday night when they got him. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay.
I'm just explaining the days.
I got you.
Okay.
So that morning, Henry wakes up and he sees his mom and Frank in the restroom. And they're doing like their relationship routine. You know, y'all both get dressed in the restroom. You know, that's why me and my husband like his or her sinks. Like we gotta have his or her sinks because we be in there like.
Life is hard with just one.
Right. And so, you know, they just kind of in there brushing teeth, you know, putting on deodorant, whatever, just like getting ready for the day. And so they kind of asked Henry if he could go on a little mission and like help them out. And they asked him to go to the library to go get a book called Prince Edward Island. So he bikes down to the library and Uglinor, aka Eleanor, is there reading, you know, little greasy hair little girl, and she's at the library, and Henry, as he's getting the books and stuff, he happens to turn and he sees her sitting down at one of the tables. Yeah. So he goes down there, act like first off, I was like, okay, Henry, I like Henry. Henry is like a strong. He's a quiet, strong boy. Yes. He is not scared. He like. Yeah. So he went down there and he acted like he was reading his book, but really he wasn't. Sat down there and just sparked conversation with Uglinor. And I was wondering too, like, boy, you can find you one way better.
You should have left that girl alone. She looked like she's
right.
She did.
I promise you, that's exactly what I
she probably stinks.
I literally thought the same thing, and I was like, that's mean. Like, I go, but yes, girl. I literally thought the same thing. I was like, she just looked dusty, like she stank. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry.
We're being mean. We need to stop. Okay,
right, this is just the character. We are not talking about the actual person.
We're portraying how we feel about the character.
Yes. Anyway, so then, Henry, spark up the conversation. He was like, so you go to school around here? So she talked about she just moved from Chicago, and she's going to live with her dad for the year. So I guess she's going to try that out. And so now we know she also comes from a divorced home.
Yep.
And she was just saying, like, the real reason is because she has an eating disorder, and her mama really just don't want to be bothered with her. She want to be down there with her boyfriend, So that's kind of how she feel. You kind of get the vibe that, okay, she doesn't have no type of relationship with her parents, and she's very jaded and upset and angry, whatever. So Henry then tells her, well, a guy just moved in, with me and my mom. So then Eleanor, she just starts talking crazy and assumes that Frank wants Henry out, and that, and so I like that Henry took up for him without, like, you can understand he may not have his full trust, but he trusted him enough to, like, nah, that ain't really him. That hasn't seemed like him. So he said he didn't think that was the case. And she's like, they will, so they can have sex. Like, girl.
I think honestly she's an example, like, of the toxic side view.
Yeah.
Like, she's looking at it from a child who just sees the sexual aspect and doesn't see the intimacy.
Yeah,
I think the key word is that they're intimate and they're having intimacy even in front of him.
Yep.
Because it's not overtly sexual
Very
penetration.
True. Right.
But she's so focused on the penetration piece that she's like, that's all they care about. And it might be.
Yeah.
Or it might not be, and she could just be laser focused.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And see that, but you could tell the type of the health scale.
Yeah.
you can tell.
Hers is low.
Right. So.
And she keeps going on about how she feels like a pawn in her parents' game because they won't let her go to school, and like she wants to go to this profound elite school where they don't care about grades or blah blah blah, and they let you whatever.
Everything is.
And she's like, but they won't let me go, so I know that it's a pawn. Like, I'm just a pawn in their crazy sex games.
Yeah,
she's making it up.
Right.
At this point, that's what I think.
And you can just tell where she's at too. Like
Eleanor, she asked her about the books that Henry has with him, and they're all about Canada. And so he says, like, oh, it's because it seems nice, like he's making a reason why they're about Canada. But she insists that, your mom probably doesn't want to take you guys or take you anywhere because she just wants to have sex with him. Because once you have sex, it affects your brain. And Henry's like, I don't think so. But then she keeps going on about how, don't worry, one day they'll want to get rid of you. Just because her family was trying to get rid of her, maybe. Yeah. And, like, if she acts like this, I'm going to understand. But, no, that's not what a real parent would do. They'd stick it through. But
she's just angry. She's just lashing out.
And so she's portrayed, like, she's putting all of that on him. Saying, nope, your situation is the same as mine.
Don't be projecting. No, right. Yeah. That's not where I'm coming from. So.
Yeah. And she's like, and it's too bad that her dad and his mom didn't get together first, But then I guess it would be incest if we got married. Yeah, like, girl, will you please go?
Yeah.
You guys aren't getting married. Don't think about all these things.
Right. Ain't nothing fruitful about your conversation. Get on somewhere.
And she was like, either Henry needs to get rid of him, talking about Frank, or he'll probably get rid of Henry. And she just kind of plants that seed in his mind. Then we see another flashback, right? It's young Frank again. And he's walking around with the baby and the blonde, and it feels kind of awkward. It feels off. They're at this, like, garage sale. Yeah. They'll walk past this couple, and the husband just kind of gives this slight funny face. It's so subtle, but you know. Like, that was just the way he looked up was enough to be like, this is strange. Why are you with you guys? And we see young Frank, he's holding the baby. He's at the bowling alley, and he's asking one of the attendants, like, what time is women's league?
Yeah.
And, the cashier's like, women's league is Tuesday. So your wife's not even here on women's league like she said she is. It's starting to come together why she's so off.
Yep.
Then we see, like, a quick flash of his wife. She's laying on her back in, like, kind of in the hallway of their living room.
Yeah.
And she's on the floor, and then we see a little water drip on her forehead. So these flashbacks are ever so quick, but they're giving you a nice little story of what's going on
behind us. Yeah, the background.
So then we cut to Henry, right?
Yep.
And so we see that night that Henry's leaving the house, and he's going into his dad's car. So it must be Sunday, because that's when he sees his dad.
Yeah,
that's what he tells him. So Frank is like looking out the window, and he's like, "So that's the fool that walked out on you." And Adele just kind of smirks.
Yeah.
And I love that little piece, because it's like, really? You gonna leave a woman like this? Like, bruh, you a fool.
You can tell he was definitely gushing. He was gushing over her because he liked her, because he was like, wow.
And like, also had to see like how foolish you had to be to walk out on her. Like, I need to see a man, and I'm putting quotes you can't see. I need to see the man that would do that to you.
Ain't that funny though, how we always like eat up our like significant others' exes? Like, like, that's what you chose, whatever. Like, you know, we like to eat them up,
nor deny.
We like to. That's what I do. I ain't scared to say it. I sure do. I eat up my husband's ex.
I don't have a husband whose ex I could eat up, I guess.
She got a significant other whose ex she could eat up.
I could, but I'm not going to.
No, I ain't saying to do it, girl. I'm just saying in your private time. I in my private time, or if we talking about her, well, I'll be eating her up. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, because he was mine.
No, it's just funny because you just be like, she don't look better than me. Why does her teeth look like that? Like, that's what you chose.
Goes to
and then
dinner.
he be eating up mine too. I'm sorry.
No. It's funny, actually. I'm just trying not to get myself caught up in a trap, man. It's a trap.
It's not.
It's a trap.
All right. Come on.
So Henry's going to dinner with his dad, right? And his dad's wife, Marjorie. And then her son Richard, who's around the same age as Henry,
right? And
their little toddler. I don't know if you could read what I said in that scene about all those people, but
oh my god!
Okay.
That is the meanest.
No, I didn't say it that way though.
I know. We are going to definitely listen. I'm telling y'all now, this line was said so differently, but what's sitting on the script here? If I could just say it.
I didn't say what the script says.
I'm going to say it. She said, I'm just playing.
I'm like, okay, as long as it's you. And they're both about to be entering the 7th grade. So the dad's, they're at a booth at a restaurant, at this little diner. And the dad's talking, about,
God.
Hey, Richard's thinking about going for lacrosse or soccer or something. What about you? What are you thinking, pal? Well, probably not football because
talking to Henry.
Yeah, he's like, probably not football because you're not enough meat on the bones yet for that. And Henry's like, actually, I was thinking of signing up for the modern dance, group.
Right. And
the dad's like, the dad's like taking back a little bit. He's like, I'm not sure that's such a good idea.
Oh my
and then
God.
So Marjorie nobody asked her nothing, but she wants to cut in talking about.
Yeah, that's not.
I know how your mother feels about dancing, but people might get the wrong idea.
What?
And then Richard's like, they might think you're gay.
Yeah, he just came out and said that.
But Henry was like, or they might think I like girls in tights.
Exactly. Like, make it make
sense. And his dad kind of laughed it off. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's true. Like, let's
boy
talk
can't
about
dance just because it's modern dance. What? That's so stupid to me.
I think
a lot of people got different talents. I know hairstylists men that be killing the hairstylist game. Come on, like, and straight, like, so it's just like either way, it don't matter.
There's so many things that men can do because they're talented as well. Right. So it would be crazy for you to just assume only women could do this, only men could do
this, or
this,
that it's gay to do something.
Yeah, just because you want to do something
stupid.
And I think that he's getting this confidence because he's seeing the way that Frank is interacting with his own mom.
Yep.
And he does it with just such this.
Like, he's all mature. Like, boy, okay. Like, you can tell he's been taught some things over the past few days.
And he talks to Henry like he sees him.
Right.
That's how Frank talks to him versus his dad is like, oh, what sport are you going to do? Oh, you don't have enough meat on your bones. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Listen to me.
Exactly.
The dad's like, oh, you boys are at that stage after he laughs it off. We probably need to have a man-to-man conversation. And Richard's like, I already had that with my real dad.
And I love that in the face that Henry's dad made, which is like, and he just moved on to Henry.
I know, because it's like you're not. That's his way of saying like I don't want to follow you.
Exactly.
Like, somebody influential to me.
So
I already
even
did that.
Right. So even his new wife's son don't even like him.
And Henry agrees. Like, yeah, I'm up to speed. But the dad
Right.
says like, well, I'm sure your mom told you the basics, but there's some things you need to hear from a man, which. That could be true,
yeah, of
right?
course, yeah.
But first of all, he's already assuming that the mom just told him the basics.
Exactly, like
but
she
the
ain't...
mom told him a very true thing.
Exactly.
Talking about human touch and desire.
Exactly. And how dare you assume too that I'm just still over here lonely? You don't know what changes happen in my life.
Yeah.
And so,
and even even Marjorie is like, it could be difficult not having a man around the house.
girl.
And Henry's like, who says I don't?
Exactly.
Just eats a fry.
Just already assuming. So, that kind of hit the day. He was like, he kind of made a little,
What you mean by that comment?
That's right. She got her man at the crib. You don't need to know.
Oh, okay.
Am I doing too much?
No, you're not. You're not. I have a comment now for the ex thing. It just came to me.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's different than somebody's current. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm the ex,
okay,
and someone else is their current, it's easier for me to feel some type of way, because it's like, oh, so that's the one you think is better than me. Because if it's like someone before you, it's like you always continuously upgrade.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, you think you upgraded with that when you didn't. Like, Marjorie is not the upgrade, bruh.
Yeah. Hell no.
And that is how that's kind of more the way I look at it. Just because I try sometimes to just be like, we all have exes.
Oh yeah,
and
that's definitely true. Because
I've been there.
I'm somebody's ex that somebody else is talking about. Looking at me, eat me up.
So it's like, let me not, because I don't want that to.
But that's what's so funny. I don't care. That's what makes it funny, because something like that isn't that deep. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I don't actually care.
Yeah, but I got you. That's true though, because I'm an ex too. Yeah.
Yep. So I be trying to look from so many different angles. Like, okay, now.
But that's still a true fact. I still be eating them up. Okay.
I think it's human nature.
Exactly.
I'm not.
That's what makes it funny though. But I do like how you thought about that perspective, because that show was just like, well, whatever.
Marjorie.
So now, after that little crazy conversation, how pretty much both the boys just they was coming back with clapback so quick.
They was clowning
both his son and his stepson. So after they're leaving the diner, the dad asks Henry, he's like, so are you serious about a guy hanging around the house? Don't be asking. That is just hilarious to me. Like, no, now you know, don't worry about it. It's none of your business. So Henry's like, what do you care? Like, why are you asking? And so, he's just like, I like to know who's hanging around the house, So they end that conversation. They leave the diner. Henry comes back home, and he sees his mom and Frank. They're dancing in the kitchen. They're doing a cha-cha.
Yes. They got the music up, too. They in there getting it.
Right. They in there like, okay, let's turn up real quick.
And I think that, for me, that symbolized, we figured this out. We got this together. Like, we in this little, mood
this whole groove.
where we're like, let's just
and they set
dance.
it to their comfort.
And not even noticing, they got the door. Exactly. The screen door is open.
Exactly.
He just walked right on it.
Exactly. So I get why Henry, because Henry's like, he kind of gets a little short, it's a little loud, I thought we were trying to avoid attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just in here, y'all in here lit. Turn all this down. So I get that. And so the mom, she just kind of talks about, what was she saying? Like, dance. She talks him down. Blah, blah, blah. She was all in her
don't
happy.
worry, you can have the next dance. She sees he's a little sour.
Yeah. So Henry says he's just going to go ahead and go to bed. But his mom stops him, and she's like, I want to talk to you about something. And Adele, she starts to say, after your father left, I thought, I'd be alone forever. I didn't think I would care about anyone else besides you. And so Henry kind of says it kind of quickly, kind of cuts her off, but not really. And he's like, I'm really happy for you. And so Adele's like, we're thinking of, going to Canada. That might be a good place to start over. And Henry's like, Canada? And Adele says back, she's like, they speak English. And then here come Frank, but from in the back, and he's like, you don't even need, passports, like, he's like, okay, like, because I'm sure he was listening to her tell the son, and then he kind of came out.
And he came out without his
beard. Yeah, he shaved his face. And so, at this point, you could tell that Henry's getting very
his eyes are
teary-eyed.
watering.
Yeah. And so, because he really feels some type of way, like his mom's going to leave him, and he's like, will I ever see you again? And then she was like, what? And she was like, you didn't think, like, what? Like, and then she goes in and hugs him. And she's like, we're all going. We're all going. Like, I'm talking like we all leaving. Not, boy, I wouldn't ever leave you.
Yeah.
And so, she hugs him and tells him that she never leave him. So she was like, you would just have to leave your school. And she was like, you can't tell anyone. We just get up and go. So that was the situation. So now he knows the truth to what he's been kind of feeling and dreaming about. Like, is my mom going to leave me? Is Frank really trying to get me just out the picture? So now he knows that's not the case.
And he's happy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, but I had to leave my stuff or blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I want to be in this vibe.
With y'all, right. And it's so crazy that his mom didn't even... That's how much she knew he was going with him. That she thought it was crazy that he was even thinking that I would leave you.
Yep. So then Monday, it shows Monday on the screen. It's the next day. It must be Labor Day. They begin packing the house. You see them getting boxes out, taping stuff up, packing up everything they're going to take with them. When they're doing this, it shows them cleaning through the house, putting stuff in boxes. Like, okay, we're getting this plan in, together. Frank notices a room that's boarded up with what looks like a nursery. And he just closes that door, and Henry goes off on his bike to meet up with Eleanor.
Yeah.
And she asked him, like, so did you get the sex fiend out yet? And he's like, he's not a fiend. And she tells him, like, it'd be easy if you just tell your mom that he touches you.
Oh my God, girl.
I definitely do not like this character.
That is nuts.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yep. And he's like, it's not like that. They're going to take him with, they're going to take me with them to Canada. Like, shut up.
Right. But don't tell this girl all the business thing.
And then Eleanor asked, she was like, well, when? She says, tomorrow. And she's like, on the first day of school? Like, she stops walking and is like, squinting her eyes, like putting two and two together. Like, it's him, isn't it?
She know too much for her own good. Like, how
you're on the run.
Yeah.
She knows. And you're like, oh, punch her, throw her in the river. No, I'm just kidding.
I was wondering if they was going to turn it that way, because they were standing on the bridge. Yeah. And I was like, is it going to be something silly like, I don't want him to know, and he pushes her. Please don't go that route, movie. Please don't go that route.
It was too good of a movie for that. So near the bridge, as they're talking and walking together, she just starts to go on about his situation, like spiraling into these crazy stories, talking about like, what would happen if your mom got killed? They're like modern day Bonnie and Clyde,
if you're ever in an ambush.
Talking about like, they probably wouldn't kill you, like, because you're still a kid.
From a cinematographer's standpoint, I like what happens here, because as she's saying that about the ambush and stuff, it actually like kind of cuts into this scene that as she's saying this, Henry is thinking of it, and you can see his thought. So he's in the car and they're shooting the car and he's down on the floor, and she's saying, do you really want to be a part of that, and all that stuff. So it's kind of like
she's planting these ideas.
And you can see the ideas being planted and they're kind of being played out in his thoughts.
And then she stops abruptly and kisses him. I bet her breath is funky, but I'm gonna keep
that's what I was thinking too, because she did just come on in like, and then it was something on her lip, the scene before that. So I was thinking about that too, like, God, I'm sorry. It's making it seem like she was like some crackhead, but she wasn't.
We just don't like what her character is doing. Yeah. Planning in him.
Yeah.
Because Henry's a good kid.
She just looks like a shadow.
Yeah.
Just think of a shadow, like a live action shadow.
Yep. That's all she is. The shadow.
She just gave that vibe of a shadow, just a dark cloud. Like, girl. So it cuts to a scene where we see now Adele and Frank are together. I think they're in the kitchen or something. And he kind of picks up a box, because they're packing, because they're gonna go get up and go. Okay. And so he picks up a box, but then it kind of hurts, and he's like, he kind of puts it down and sits down, and she comes over there and kind of tends to his wound, but sees that it's infected. It is nasty.
And I like what she says to him there too, where she says to him, because he's like, oh no, it's fine, I can handle it. And she's like, in order for this to work, you're gonna have to let me take care of you too.
Right. Like,
Let
come
'em
on
know.
now. Like, right, we work
Like,
together.
you over here fixing everything up in my house
Right,
and being there
taking
for my
care of
son.
us,
Like,
right.
you're hurt. Let me take care of you.
Right. And so they kind of come to the conclusion that, he's, because Adele started saying, like, you need medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, well, you got to go get it. And then she kind of thought like, oh, yeah, that is true. I got to go get it. And, it was like that small little hesitancy because of her social anxiety or whatever
Mm-hmm.
she might be, struggling with. But she gets in the car and Frank is looking from the kitchen window down into the car and sees that she's just like trying to work her way up to it, but she's just still sitting in the car, kind of just nervous and timid and all the things.
Yeah, kind of almost like she's panicking, but silently.
Right. And so Frank goes out there, he gets in the car, and he asks her, what's wrong? Adele insists, it's nothing. And he says, if she's not up for this, that he needs to know. And I appreciate him being real. Like, bruh, like, we got to go through borders. We got to go through, hiding and doing all these things.
Yep.
Like, are you up for this? Like, if this is not what you want to do, tell me, because then my plan got to change, basically. That's what he's saying, you know? And I like that he was real with her. Yep. Tomorrow. And so, he's like, tomorrow we're going to hit the road, never look back. If you don't want this, let me know. So she assures him that, she do. This is what she wants. This is what she's always wanted, like, in her life. Love, basically. That's what she was saying. And so then Frank is like, then what is it? Why are you sitting over here tripping?
Yeah. You can't even move the car.
Right. So then she tells the story about how after Henry was born, her body forgot how. That's it. It was just like, she said, my body forgot how. She didn't say how anything. She just said how. And I like that because I got what she meant, not from experience, but from just the way it was explained. Mm-hmm. She talks about waking up with horrible cramps, and how she felt something slip from her when she went to go use the restroom, and she was, bleeding from her vaginal area. This is also going into a flashback of Adele's life.
Yeah, a little compilation.
Yeah, of, her history with her ex-husband and where they started from and all the things. And basically it was just like this big montage of her getting pregnant and miscarrying.
Yeah. Like she kept trying.
Yeah, they kept trying, both of them.
It would happen again.
Yeah.
And then again.
And you could tell the closeness of the husband and wife at first, but then, and I think she said it happened, 4 times, 5 times?
Well, yeah, she just felt like her body betrayed her. Yeah. Then, like, it was the 4th time that it got even worse. Yeah. Like, and they knew, like, they were talking about how, like, they didn't celebrate anymore. They didn't tell their friends. Like, they knew better. Like, they didn't think of names or start putting the nursery up because they were too afraid of it happening again. So they gave up really trying. Yeah.
But then she ends up having a baby like full term. Yes. But it was stillborn. And so she ended up having the stillborn. And I like the way that they portrayed or depicted this tie or this sever of what could have been a relationship and a new life. It was like severed, like literally severed, like at that moment. And so she's kind of basking and she's holding her baby that she just had this, lifeless in her arms, and she just looking. She's kind of narrating too, right?
Yeah, she's narrating.
Yeah, and she's holding the baby, and she's like, I was just looking at just looking at the baby, just studied her face and just looked at her and just took it all in. That and she kissed the baby. Yeah. Because she had a little girl. It was a little girl.
And she just knew that was it. Like, I can't put myself through this. Like, this is too much.
Yeah.
To have to do this.
Right.
Like, we're done now.
Or keep this want or this desire is just not coming to fruition. Yeah. So I'm done going through this process. And so she was like, no more conversations or attempts. The world had become cruel. She was done. Yeah. Yeah. So she was not trying to have no more kids.
It gave you her backstory.
Yeah. So we get it. She's a good mom. She's sweet. She's just sad. She's just sad.
Because then it shows her kind of like she couldn't go back out into the world because she kept seeing mothers. She kept seeing pregnant women. And like it sparks up that grief for her when she sees it. Yeah. So. Oh, yeah. The whole time it's showing this flashback as she's telling this story to Frank. And, it was her and her husband. It literally showed like, okay, this is where all the sadness comes from. This is where,
just the loneliness, and we understand why the husband left. Yeah, like the pain, right? And or we see why the husband left. I don't know if I necessarily understand it, but I see why the husband left. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of told that story. And so she's sharing this with Frank.
And Frank is just sitting there, like, as she's saying it, looking at her, and he just says, "I came to save you, Adele. Tomorrow, that's exactly what I'm going to do." Like, he just lets her know, like, I'm taking you away from that pain, you know? Like, I'm giving you that family.
Yeah. And then, too, now I think about it, with the fact, with her, from the character's point of view, with her not being able to, in a sense, do what women do, what we're so, like, strong and dope and to do. We kind of equate that sometimes
our bodies
with
can naturally do.
Right. And we kind of sometimes equate that with our value as a woman. And so with Frank coming in and he like, nah, like me and you, like, I'm here. Like, I want to love you for you. Like, it's not about what you can't give me or can give me. Like, so, yeah.
Because she tells him, like, I can't give you a family.
Yeah.
And he says, you already have.
Yes. And I was like, okay, Frank, that's right. He gonna take in that son. Like,
and just the fact that, like, this is my family.
Right.
Like, you don't have to have another baby for this to be considered a family.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
it's you.
Oh, that's dope. That was dope.
And then Henry narrates, by the end of the afternoon, we'd separated the things into stuff that we take and stuff they'd leave behind. And for no reason except for it seemed like the right thing to do, they clean the house. So you see the house is pretty cleared out. They over here dusting, sweeping, mopping up, like just cleaning it. We get another flashback now. It's of young Frank, and he's holding the baby, and he walks through a bar, and we see his wife, Blondie. She's drinking there with another man. And at home, it shows, like him, they're clearly have just finished having an argument because he just had her at the bar with the guy. And he says, is he even mine? Is he even my son? And so Blondie, that's where she turns around and she says, you fool, from earlier, to which he just pushes her, effectively killing her.
Yeah,
because she runs into one of those, she hits her head on one of those old-fashioned furnaces.
Heater, those little furnace heater,
those
great
painfully looking
so he pushed her pretty hard, so she kind of like turned.
Yeah, she hit her head.
Yeah, so I guess it must have hit the perfect little area.
Yep, think.
Dang.
And that's when we see she's laying there and he's saying her name, right. Blondie. I don't know what it is. She deserves no name. And we see the water starting to drip onto her forehead, and that's where we see the overrun bathtub and the baby young Frank running up there. The overrun bathtub, and young Frank runs up the stairs, and you're like frantically because you could see like the little baby toys are overflowing too, and he's like, no, and
then you find out
that's how you know that baby's gone.
Baby, yeah, because he forgot they were.
But did he or did she?
Did she forget?
It doesn't explain that at all.
Oh, that's true.
Because
he had
because even like the way it was overflowing would lead you to believe, okay, so y'all just left it on. Did you both forget the baby was up there?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Mom, did he?
Right.
But even if he forgot, like no matter who forgot, the baby had to have been drowning for a while for it to be all the way overflowing onto you. Like,
yeah.
So, what?
Yeah. So, and so then too, that makes sense on why he went to prison for what they think it was probably a
murder.
Yeah, like of his wife and kid. Wow.
Or just wife, since it's not even his kid.
Yeah.
Or just the kid, because the wife could have been an accident. I don't know.
Right. Like, that's the thing. And that's why he said earlier in the movie, he was like, it didn't happen that way. They saying it. Like, it's not like that. So, whatever. So then, the next scene, it cuts to Tuesday now. First day of school. And we see Henry. He's written a letter to his dad. And he wants to drop it off. Because, before he leave to go to Canada, he, placed it in the mailbox. He walks home, as he usually does, and a cop pulls up. Kind of just driving alongside, and he tells him. So then, the cop's like, hey, buddy, start talking to him or whatever and asked him what he was doing. And Henry says that he's walking home. And the cop, he insists on giving him a ride.
Yep.
Yeah, because what else cops gonna do? But make it your damn business. So he had time that day. He was like, you know what? Let me take you home and figure out what's going on. So he kind of insists. And of course, Henry's trying to get out of it. He's like, no, I'm good. Like, and oh, it's not safe, whatever. So he gets in the car and the cops start asking all these nosy ass questions. Henry's answering them pretty well. He's not like being suspicious or anything, but still, I think the cops still got a little suspicious. But
Henry's still doing a good job, but it's just like you're feeling tense because you're like, why are you in a cop car right now, leading into your house?
I know,
Stop.
right? Because now you're about to see everything. So, they pull up, and at this point, because when Henry had left, they were packing and stuff. Frank and Adele packing up the car. So now the cops pulling up and they're still doing that. So then, good thing Frank is still in the house by the time the cop pull up, and Adele's outside of the car, and you can clearly see it's being packed. And so, Henry gets out the car real quick or whatever. And
thanks the cop. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Closes the door.
And then I'm like, Adele, why are you acting like that? Like, I was mad because she was literally standing there with her hands together. Like, that is like a clear, like, I'm really into body
language.
Yes. And so you look like... You like you're hiding, you're scared, like you literally are just showing your cards.
Her body language is awful,
right?
I'd be like, something's wrong with her. Why is she standing so stiff?
So she starts whispering. She's like, no, and the cop, he's just like looking at him, and he's like, nah, something ain't right. So his ass part and get out. Just what she didn't want him to do, he does. He get out the car. He walks up there, starts to talk to Adele. He sees that the car is like full of boxes and stuff. And so the cop asks, he's like, so, are you guys going on a road trip? And she says, no, just selling some old things. But it's kind of like still nervous. It's like, girl, get it together. Yeah. And so, he insists on helping her, with some boxes and stuff.
Even though she tells him she's okay.
Right, I got it. Like, but, he was like, I guess she gave him the heavy boxes or whatever.
One more heavy box.
Oh, yeah. So she's like, okay, just one more heavy box or whatever. And he kind of steps in. He kind of looks around a little bit. And then he kind of makes a remark that the house is nice. And he takes one of the bigger, heavier boxes out to the car. And after kind of standing around, just still looking at him, I guess just whatever, he finally leaves. And I'm like...
Ugh. It was just one of those tense movie scene moments.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was mostly Adele. It was her fault. I would have been pissed if I was over there. I would have been pissed
so
at her.
She was so mad at Adele.
Cause, girl, you acting all like you supposed to act natural.
And that makes sense. But I think the only reason why she can get away with it is because she's always kind of like that.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, the townspeople are like, oh, there goes Adele. She's afraid to come out and be amongst the people. And that's if she was as vibrant as like you was being that way, it would definitely be like, something is wrong. But it's like,
they already knew her.
Here come old timid, Adele. Let me help her tie her shoes,
Yeah.
But then I think this movie still did a good job of showing she's actually really strong too.
Yeah, she is actually. You're right. That's very true.
She was getting in her head, getting all nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could have done better.
Just kind of, because I would have been acting like I'm packing in the car. Oh, hey, what's going on? I would have walked over there because you got to be confident. Like, okay, whatever.
She struggles with that still. Yeah. It's only been a few days. You got to give her some time.
And that's why we're happy that Frank entered her life, because Frank is there to protect her and kind of be that, like, that helpful voice, like to get her to start speaking up and being strong and showing the strength that she has inside of her. Yeah. So anyway.
So Adele and Henry... when they get back into the house, Frank is like, okay, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta make this quick. Adele and Henry have to go to the bank to make one last transaction, right? And he said, I'm finished up around here.
Yeah.
So they go to the bank, Adele and Henry, and I'm so glad he told Henry to go with her. Like, she needed him. Meanwhile, here come Bargin Barb. AKA Evelyn, like the heifer that had the wheelchair bound son.
Yeah,
she walks a little stank self into the house, right into the house again. No knocking once again.
Yeah,
that's why we call it Bargin Bob.
Right,
Barb,
because he's packing and stuff.
Yeah, dang. But she walks in and like the house is cleared out, and he is on a ladder, literally taking the light bulb out of it.
Right, he's like doing stuff to the house, making it fixing.
That's what she sees, and it's kind of like, oh. The house looks cleared, and here's this guy in here that you don't know,
right,
on a ladder taking out a light. Like, what? So she asked, like, where's Adele? And he's like, oh, she'll be right back. She's just dropping her son off at school. Like, he makes up a lie real quick.
Right.
Meanwhile, at the bank, like, because they both going through their little moments of, like, it's giving you anxiety. Like, come on, y'all, go.
Right.
At the bank, because the transaction is so high, the teller tells
the
Adele,
deposit,
like, she has to
withdraw.
Yes, the withdrawal is so high that the teller tells her, like, I had to speak to a manager about this. So she goes over to the manager and talks to him for a moment. And he comes over, and Adele's like, I shouldn't have asked for that much. And he's like, it's fine, Mom. It's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Like, he helps her.
I wonder how much they got out.
I was trying to count it, but all I got up to was like $2,700.
Okay.
So like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But it's 1987.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, that's true.
So the manager comes over and he's like, "Oh, usually for amounts this large, people have traveler's check. Are you sure everything's okay?" And she's like, I don't get out much. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, girl, spit it out.
That was good.
And
the way you did it.
Henry, that's how she does it. And Henry was finally like, actually, we've packed up all our things and we're gonna make a run for the border, like Bonnie and Clyde.
And he told the truth.
Yes, remember that nothing misleads people like the truth.
Yes.
Because that made them start giggling. They just laughed at it like, okay. And then started counting out the money.
And he really was telling the truth. And it
got
worked.
That from Frank.
It's like a superpower. I'm telling you the truth.
Nothing misleads people like the truth. So at the house, old Bargin Barb is asking him a couple questions. Stupid things like,
because she's holding like a pie or whatever.
She brought over some sort of thing.
Some nasty that's unseasoned.
Do you know when they'll be back? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just the handyman. Have a go. Why are you asking me all the questions?
Yeah, get out. Adele and Henry get back home. And Frank insists they need to go like now. Like, we don't even got no more time to like wait. So we have to leave it now. So then Frank, he tells Henry, he's asking him like, did you leave a message for your father? Because I guess, he knows.
Yeah, Henry left him a note.
Yeah.
Because the father called and left a message.
Right. Okay. Yep. And so he just said, so Henry was like, yeah, I just wanted my dad to know that I was all right. Like, and then Frank's like, we need to go now. And Henry, he starts running upstairs like, I got to say goodbye to my room. And I felt that in that moment because.
Yes, I get that. I remember it's so weird.
Yeah. I remember being like a teenager and like us moving and stuff and me being like, okay, like, gotta leave you behind.
Yeah.
And so he needed to do that. Henry had to go say goodbye to his room. He wasn't coming back, you know what I'm saying? And he's been there. So it's just like, I get it. Adele's like, Henry, now, like, we gotta go. So Henry just goes up and he runs up to his room as, Adele and Frank, they make it like halfway up the steps. And then everything kind of stops because you start to hear sirens wailing in the distance. And they just kind of freeze in their tracks because they know, like, oh, shit.
Just hearing that siren is enough to make your stomach drop. Like,
no. Yep. And they just kind of like, they literally stop in their tracks and they just know it's over. Like, okay, like Frank just turns around to Adele and he's just looking at her and just like embraces her, looks her in her eyes, and she still ain't kind of got it yet. She's thinking that, okay, we got to run away and go. That's what she was like, what are we going to do? But Franklin already came to the realization that no, this is the end. And so he embraces her and he kisses her and she's just like, she gets it now and she's kind of starts, crying like, no, like, but they had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
So we cut to now with the sirens coming and the cops coming.
Getting closer and louder.
Yeah. That Frank is now tying up Adele and Henry.
Yep.
So that, it can look like they wasn't harboring a fugitive.
Yeah.
And to look like they were pretty much forced. And so, after he's kind of like tying them up, he had this moment with both of them and he looks over at Henry and he's like, you're a fine boy, Henry. And anybody who says otherwise is not worth your time. And I was like, ooh, that's a good little, just quick overall.
Yep.
Like,
that encompasses
speaking to his
everything.
life. Yeah.
It encompassed everything he needed to know. Like, you're a good kid and don't even waste your time on someone who says otherwise.
Right. And because the things that he's saying that's good, he can actually see. He knows from experience and he's seen it interacted in Frank.
Yep.
And so, like, he knows, wow, yeah, okay, I am a good person. So I am, like, that standard. Like, in my mind, like, this is how we treat people. This is how it is and whatnot. And so, yeah, you are fine. And don't let nobody tell you different. That's what he left with. And so then he turns over to Adele. And he's like, I take 20 more years just to have 3 more days with you. And
she starts bawling.
Right. And so, he just like kisses her after that. And he leaves, and
he goes out with his hands up.
Adele and Henry, they're teary-eyed, like they literally are just crying, and they just watching it because it's like, we can't do anything. Like this is his way of also protecting us so that we don't go to prison and whatever. They family be torn apart. And so Henry just gets up, he puts his hands up, opens up the front door, puts his hand down, like, get out, all that stuff.
Yeah, they cuff him.
Yeah.
Here's Ryan.
Yeah, right. And you could also tell the pain and the hurt on Frank's face too. Like he is hurting, like, ugh.
I gotta leave them behind. This is my family.
Right. So yeah. And it's so crazy just that cute, beautiful, like deep family just literally just began in 5 days.
I know.
Like
you wanted them to have
grew
more.
so deep. Yeah. That's crazy.
And Henry and Adele too, like they, because the cops and stuff are starting to surround them. Like, are you okay? And like, don't worry, that man's gone. It's fine.
Right.
And they're just looking at him and crying.
Yep.
Everyone else is probably, they're in shock, but they're like, no, we love him.
Right.
Like we care for, like he was our family.
Yep.
And so we find out through the narration that they charged Frank with kidnapping.
Yep.
And so when Adele drove to the prosecutor's office, she wanted to witness, and insist that, like, they don't hurt him, that he wasn't hurtful to them, that he was kind to them, like, he was kind to Henry, like, he wasn't bad, like, trying to make him look better, like, he didn't hurt us. And he just tells her, like, it would be considered, like, think about what you're saying, because it would be considered harboring a fugitive and neglect of a minor, and you could lose custody of your son.
Right.
So he's basically telling her you can't even take up for him.
Yep. Dang.
But they gave Frank 10 years for the escape and 15 for the kidnapping.
Dang, so that's 25 years?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yes.
25.
And she tried to visit him, but she was told he was in solitary.
Yeah.
She even wrote him sometimes daily.
Yeah.
And a while later, she received all the letters that she wrote him back with the prison seal because none of them had been opened. And when she inquired about that, they said that he had been transferred.
Yep.
So within a month, she relinquished her custody of Henry over to his father. So it's kind of showing a compilation of this as well. Henry was just talking about how his father rarely knew what to say. Like, he just kind of kept quiet.
Yeah.
And when Henry would visit his mother, she'd try to act like she was busy and distracted.
Yeah,
and like,
but she really was just probably sitting around just sad. And, yeah.
But you could, like, she was trying to put on that show for Henry. Like, yeah, it's okay, son. Don't worry. I'm doing
fine
things.
Over here. Yeah. Aw.
But then he goes on by his junior year. Now he's much older now.
Yep.
People hardly brought it up anymore because that would be, like I said, it's the most important thing that happened to their little stank town.
Right.
But by his junior year, people have forgotten about it. They'd had a little 15 minutes of fame, I'm sure. But he finally had a girlfriend. And it showed him doing things that Frank had taught him, like fixing her tire.
Fixing her tire, yeah.
He was playing baseball for his school, like doing stuff that Frank had taught him in that little time.
He was a little gentleman. He just literally just raised his boy. Like
in this few days. Like it was all that Henry needed.
He showed him more than his own father. That's crazy.
But his father does have a little moment here where it's like, okay, his father had a moment of realization or growth.
He did.
Because his father has dinner with him. And, they're at in that booth talking where he had earlier been condescending. And
talking to older Henry now.
Yep. He's high school. Henry. About to graduate.
Right.
And the dad, he talks to him about how his mom had this crazy, wild passion. He's talking about Adele.
Yeah.
And, like, she was just in love with love. And she was everything. She was funny. She was loving. She was passionate. And that a better man, like, would have stayed around to be with her. But he just wanted a regular life. Like, he hid away from the troubles when they came, basically.
Right. Yep.
And he faked it with his, secretary to have this, what he thought would be a regular life.
Yep.
But you got her son doesn't respect you. Your
Right.
own son doesn't even follow your lead.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then who knows about the little toddler they had, Lord. But he apologizes to him for that. And he apologizes for cutting out on him.
Yeah.
Which I think is the best conversation his dad could have with him.
Yep.
Because it was kind of like, I see why you were in pain. Because what I did to your mom was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't get that
right.
conversation and closure.
Right. He acknowledged it too. He did. And I think he respected the fact that he acknowledged it at least. So Henry suggested that, he moves back in with his mom after living with his dad for so long. Mm-hmm. Senior year, Mom, I want to go live with Mom. And so he did. And so now Henry's in the kitchen at his mama's house. And he tried his hand at baking and cooking like how Frank would do. And it's so cute because he pulls out like the pie. And it actually looked good. It was a little bit browner than more golden brown than their first pie, but it probably still good. Delicious. Right, it still looked good. And he made like his mom some dinner. Like he was actually doing awesome and like made it real nice, just like how Frank would. And so we cut to a scene where adult Henry now, he's walking into a store called Farm Stand Bakery. Mm-hmm. And we realize he ain't just going in to go get him some baked goods. Okay, he owns the place.
It's his store.
Yeah, he goes over to like the desk and looks at the mail and like,
and he walks past the people. You see, they're making the pies with their hands. The same way,
just the same way Frank taught him. Yep,
and it looks like a successful business too.
It is. Henry, he finds a letter as he's looking through the mail, and it's from Frank, and it reads, "Dear Henry, I always wondered what you grew up looking like. I don't know if you remember me, but we spent a holiday weekend together. Those were the best 5 days of my life. One day, I came across a familiar looking pie in a magazine, and there you were. I was proud of you." So then in the letter, he lets him know that he'll be released soon, but he understands if he chooses not to respond to the letter. And so Frank says in the letter, "I'm not young, but I have plenty of good health remaining, and I want to spend the remainder of my life living like they thought they would, together as a family." Before, the cops came and arrested him. Yeah. He wanted to go back to that, like, let's do that again. We get another try. And so he asked Henry, he was like, "Can I have your permission to write your mother?" Because the last thing he wanted to do was cause, his mama any more grief. Yeah. So Frank was asking Henry, the son, like, "Can I write your mom?" And that was respect. That was respect. So older Henry, he writes back and he tells him that it won't be hard to find her because she's still living at the same daggone address. And that's what I said too as the movie was going on. I was like, yeah, because she's still living in the same spot. Like she's still at that house and it still looked good. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he did a good job that weekend to help keep it up.
Right.
It was years ago, but still, like, he was showing them.
Yep.
So one thing that I really like is the fact that Frank saw Henry in a magazine, and that's, like, his connection to be like, I knew it. Like, I knew I was going to come past you guys again somehow. Like, right. I'm proud of you. Like, and the fact that he's, telling them he's proud of him and that he always wondered what he would look like and what he would be. And he saw his pie. Like,
he saw, right.
I helped you create this pie. Not in this, like, gloating way, even, like, I did this.
Right. But it wasn't, and it was even deeper than just the pie. It was the fact that Henry is where he is because of Frank.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Frank showed him how to make those pies. He planted that seed.
He did. And then he also showed him how to live as a man. This is what a man does. A man doesn't run away from the problems. Yep. He faces them. He learns how to them. Yes. Find resolution. It's a solution. You feel me? Like, he showed that leadership. And so, I feel like Henry definitely learned a lot in such a short time, but it was so impactful that it stayed with him, and it was he retained all that.
Agreed. Like, imagine if he had all the time with them, because in just that short time he did that much to impact their lives.
Exactly.
Like you said.
Exactly. And on Frank's perspective, like, to see like your like instilling of life into a person, you see how successful they are, and that Frank will be able to hold that near and dear to his heart for the rest of his life, to know that I had an impact on this boy. I show more reflection of him than his own father does. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Like, I'm the reason. Like, and like you said, not in a gloating way, but like he was dad to him.
Yep, he was.
Yeah.
In that short time.
In that short time.
It was so beautiful to see it unfold.
Yeah.
So then we hear Henry narrate. Henry says, half of my life worrying my mother wouldn't be able to go out in the world on her own. But as it turns out, she wouldn't have to. And so we see an older version of Frank and an older version of Adele seeing each other, you know, out of prison for the first time, and they embrace. Yeah. And he still looks pretty good.
Yeah, but I like how they kind of waited, because they walked up to, like Frank walked up to Adele, but then they kind of just stood there and just really took each other in, because now they're seeing each other 25 years later. Okay? So they look different, but they look the same, but they look different.
But it's like, it's still there.
Yeah,
like,
the love, the
you're
connection.
Still that person.
Yeah,
from
the chemistry.
Yep.
It was
and
cute.
then, you know,
and then they finally embraced.
And they walk off together, you know, along this dirt road. Yeah. It was beautiful.
It was.
It was beautiful.
Like, they got their old thing back. They older now, but they still have time to now freely be together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without any interruption.
Right.
You wish they could have had that earlier.
Right.
But it was a part of the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was just a part of their story.
Yep. And that, my friends, is the end of Labor Day.
Oh, that was it?
That's it. Y'all, we love this movie.
That was a good movie. I was like, okay, I like this, and I've never seen it.
It's just one that you have to feel. Because logically talking about it, like, it was fun talking about it with you, but like, it makes so much more sense when you see it and you hear it and experience it all together in one. Because you think, like, on the outside, this woman is crazy. If someone just says, oh, an escaped convict makes a connection with,
you know, blood coming out.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But Frank was just so believable in his love for her. Like, Frank's character, Josh Brolin, he was the, like, embodiment of, like, kind of this essence of a man with leadership that is just magnetic.
Yeah.
So his love for Adele and how genuine it was, how intimate it was, that even her son Henry could feel it and see it without any fear of him or without any hatred towards him,
right?
Or jealousy or angst.
Yeah, and knowing that he escaped prison.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, and then you kind of also start to, like, think about, you begin to believe, like, yeah, you know, he probably is right when he says it's not like how it happened, because you don't even seem like you would be a person that would do something.
That's not
like
the
that.
vibe that you give off.
Frank. And it's genuine, because this is a genuine feeling I'm having.
And I think, like, what Frank really learned throughout his life, when we look at Frank and his story, was discernment. Right. And, like, discernment of who he could trust based on their vibe. Because when he was young, he knew there was something wrong this whole time with his original wife / baby mama. And that some of them was off. He could feel it. You could see it in those flashbacks. He had plenty of time to see it. He just didn't want to, or just wouldn't put it together. Whereas now, like, he could instantly see Adele, like, this is a good person. She's not like that. Like, that's not the vibe she gets, or the love that I feel from her.
Right. And
just him and Adele just both being to their core good people that deserved each other, versus even her ex-husband. He wasn't enough. He couldn't stay when it got tricky. Right. And his ex-wife was treating him like he wasn't enough for her. Right. You know what I mean? And she was, you know, going out on him and had a baby by somebody else, and so just treating him like he's not worth it either.
Yeah, that's true. So they have a very kindred pain. Yeah, that's true. So that's that parallel. Ooh, see, that's what I mean, though. That's why I feel like that's what makes them, like, in tune. Like, like, they get it. They just get each other, and that's
They
so
both had to learn that.
Yeah, I like too that it depicted maybe, you know, quite a few single moms' lives. Like, they are, you know, I have a huge respect for single moms, because I don't know what that's like, and you know, I just from what I see. That's, you know, that's just mad respect, especially the ones that's, you know, that's right about how they raising their kids. It's like mad respect. Okay. So I like that they kind of was showing, like, the realistic, you know, kind of vibe of, you know, feeling lonely and wanting a man, you know, and needing things done around the house, but you don't know that because you're a woman and you don't do these things. Like, you know, it's like, it was just, I like how it depicted that, and it showed like a true sadness. Like, it wasn't like all about, like, her just
She wasn't sad about him. It wasn't like, I need this man particularly in my life.
Right.
It was just more like, I'm
What
sad
she
that
was
this
missing.
situation is what it is.
Right. And I felt she felt she was missing love. She wanted just love from a significant other. Yeah, because she already got love from her son, so she knows what love. You know, but she wanted a significant other type of love, companion type of love,
the love she was discussing with him, like that desire, that human touch.
Yeah. So
human touch.
It also kind of played into the whole dad and father thing, because you could be a father, like, but it just takes more to be a dad, and I'm like Frank was a dad, and I can ride with Frank.
Yeah. He was even that way for Barry.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Frank was able to see people. I think that's what he learned from his experience. Like, I'm going to see what you need. Okay, you need someone to take off your jacket. You need to be cool. You need to come out here in the sun and look up
see
at
what
the
I
sun.
mean? He was in tune with what everybody needed. Like, that was huge for me, because I'm like, that's a characteristic of a leader. That's a characteristic of, somebody that genuinely cares and wants to care of something and lead it and nurture it and guide it. Like, that's what's up. Like, I'm always gonna be down for that. So anyway, I got all into it, but
no, because it's a good movie to get into.
And despite his past, because it really didn't say, like, it wasn't showing him really committing any crimes. Like, he did push her, but I mean, I ain't trying to say.
Listen, we're not. You have to see it to know that it's not the type of push where you would truly be that upset. Because the thing is, he just found out that his wife cheated on him. And then she's over here saying he's a fool because he's asking about the baby.
Right.
So he's triggered.
And so that ain't his daggone baby. That's why she's saying that. Like, I'll look at you. You taking care of another man's baby. And that's why she kept doing what she was doing. I don't even know why he married her, but I know because she got pregnant, but still.
I think that he was young and...
I would never marry her, but...
I don't know.
Yeah, he could have found somebody else.
I don't think he really knew her for her.
And he didn't know his value, too.
Yep, he definitely didn't.
Yeah, because he was wanting to take care of her, and, he was just trying to go over there, do what he thought was right for, his life and the family.
She didn't have to drag him along.
Yeah.
She didn't have to drag him along with her stuff. She could have just used him.
Exactly.
What she was doing with other men. Because she didn't love him.
She had a lot of resentment, too. That's why she kept doing it. That's why she called him a fool. Because she resented him, too, that you keep letting me get away with this.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get into it. We really can.
But anyway.
Shoot.
My bad.
That's all we have for this week's episode. Go see Labor Day for yourself on Amazon Prime if you haven't already.
And stay connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, and our website at sothat'swhathappens.com to learn more and stay in the loop. We love to hear from our listeners, so you guys can contact us via email or DM and let us know your thoughts on any movies, comments, suggestions, perspectives, all the things.
We'd love to share them. And thank you for listening to our show, by the way.
So that's what happens. Join us next week as we unpack another movie.
Until then, it's a wrap.
Keep that laughing.